Gender-neutral option. The girls want their locker rooms and bathrooms back. They want their privacy.
Already, I sense confusion. I know that gender and sex are not really different words in Polish, but in English they are. And already I want the toilets to be designated biological male and biological female, and a third option called gender neutral option. That designation makes no sense, this conflation of gender and sex. It's whatever, people don't care. We're gonna see Asmongold conflate these things as well, with his eyebrow play and saying how crazy things are. Okay.
See back. This is why I'm here tonight. My 13-year-old daughter's well-being and mental health and privacy is at stake. This nightmare.
So you're telling me that they have a gender-neutral bathroom, but they're still having them use the gender that they're not, like, assigned at birth? So you already have? That's crazy.
That's crazy. So are you saying that you've got a gender-neutral option, but you still insist on using the toilet of the gender that you identify with? That's crazy. Insane. Isn't it insane? Hello, Arkael. Arkael, isn't it insane? Crazy?
Began on February 5th when my daughter was using the girls' bathroom and was stunned that a biological male student was using it as well. She came home frightened and was extremely upset. I asked her to talk with her teachers and find out more information.
Hold on, why was she using?
Male student was using it as well.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Began on February 5th when my daughter was using the girls' bathroom and was stunned that a biological male student was using it as well.
When a cis girl was using the bathroom, she was stunned that a trans girl was also using the bathroom in a separate stall where nobody could see one another and it was all private. She was stunned and appalled, even though when I was going to high school, all the toilets were shared between all genders and nobody was shocked or appalled or traumatized by the fact, because all the toilets were individual stalls and one could go into and do their business. So I'm not sure why this weird face. I'm not sure why the shock colored on this biological male's face.
On February 5th when my daughter was using the girls' bathroom and was stunned that a biological male student was using it as well. She came home frightened and was extremely upset. I asked her to talk with her teachers and find out more information. She was told by the administration that a student can use the bathroom as well as a female locker room because they now identify as female. I was sent an email to the teacher.
So they don't identify as female, they identify as a girl, as a woman, okay? Like, I hate this sort of twisting of, I hate this basic misunderstanding of what gender is and what sex is, okay? Oh yes, she went, oh god, I don't even know where to begin with this. It's just silly. Can we agree that it's just silly, or is that impossible? Am I missing characters?
Teachers involved and received a call from Principal Wegley. He verbally reiterated that under Joanna Ford's direction and their legal counsel that the student could use both the locker room and bathroom. I expressed that the school was in clear violation.
Oh, man.
As always, deep and insightful commentary. Oh, man. That's crazy. Oh, boy. Oh gosh. Oh, man. Ooh. This guy gets, I don't know, I think over 10,000 live viewers on average on a stream. And this is the level of content that he does. Oh, man. Well, he does move his eyebrows as well, but...
A federal policy. The Trump administration...
Brilliant. That really needed a pause. That really needed a solemn pause for him to do a weird face and say God or whatever. Amazing.
Issued an executive order restricting biological males from participating in sports and
You're talking
accessing
about kids? What? Yeah, these are 13-year-old children.
female locker rooms. That day, I filed a civil rights complaint on behalf of my daughter with the Department of Justice. It has now been referred to the Department of Education. A federal complaint has been filed with the district to protect...
the Department of Education. I mean, the department that, first of all, has nothing to do with curriculum, and second of all, Trump wants to gut and get rid of. That department. Okay.
Protect the students. The situation went from bad to worse. A few days later, the male student was present in the girls' locker room. Feeling violated, the girls made the choice to not change into their PE clothes with a biological male student present. The next day, Assistant Principal Kathy Van Treese pulled the girls into their office, questioning them. The same day, Assistant Superintendent...
Based, by the way.
Also, I want evidence of any of that happening, okay?
Joanna Ford, Kathy Van Treese, and multiple teachers all came into the girls' locker room, making them change into uniform.
Now,
Also, I'm not sure what's so based.
oh, in my
Based.
opinion,
Okay, we're gonna hear an opinion beyond based, God, oh my gosh, and faces.
if this happened,
If what happened?
and we don't know whether this is her accounting of it,
Okay,
we're not sure that this happened.
okay.
But if it did happen, what do I always say? If you want a behavior to stop, you have to hold people accountable. Find out who the people are that made the girls do that, and then hold them personally, criminally accountable for sex crimes. This will stop overnight. This is actually such an easy problem to solve. And I don't know why the Justice Department doesn't do that.
I'm not sure what sex crimes. What's the sex crime exactly? What's the charge gonna be? This is just stupid. I would like Asmongold to walk me through what sort of sex crime these people are gonna be charged with.
This is radical, extreme behavior that's beyond any normal comprehension.
Oh wow.
This
okay.
is forcing like preteen girls to dress out in front of male students. There's just literally that's disgusting. Teen? Well, if she's 13, then she's probably in middle school. And if she's in middle school, that means that it's probably 11, 12, and 13 and 14.
This is your brain on trans issues, by the way. This is the biggest political streamer right now on Twitch. Okay. I've been told by someone years ago that Asmongold is actually pretty trans friendly, but yeah, no, I'm sorry. If this is being trans friendly, then I don't know what is. I don't know what's being not trans friendly looks like if this is trans friendly. Okay? It's disgusting. Hello, Red. It's disgusting to have cis women change in the same locker room as trans women. This is just disgusting. Okay? That's the takeaway. How are you, Red? I've not seen you here for a while, I think. Welcome.
This went on all week.
I've noticed that the side chat just went quiet. Nobody's here anymore. Alright, let's continue watching this. This is very...
With the addition of Ginger Laugerman, my daughter
So, wait a second.
all came into the girls' locker room, making them change into uniform. This went on all week with the addition of Ginger Laugerman. My daughter refused to take part in having her privacy being violated. How dare they?
Yeah.
She ran out and called for me for help. Principal Wegley answered.
Should lesbians be barred from locker rooms? I asked that question. I posed that question to all that are watching this stream. All 6 of you. Should lesbians be barred from... Isn't that a violation of privacy? What's going on? Should all people be checked for their sexuality before entering places like locker rooms? To make sure that they're not violating someone's privacy? Is that a thing that should be done? Should everybody just fill out a survey and have a genital test and everything before entering a locker room or a bathroom? I guess that's it.
Answered we're offering my daughter a new her answers was offering my daughter a new PE class. The answer was no. She is not changing for the remainder of the year, and she is not changing into another class. The girls just want their private.
Well, that's not a solution, because what if everybody wanted that to happen? Like, because if the solution is to have the people that aren't okay with it change into another class, well, then what happens when nobody else is okay with it? Then you only have the one class for this one person.
Yes, nobody, literally, yes, no, everybody's a transphobe. Exactly. You're right, Asmongold. What if everybody became trans? What then? What if everybody just became... What if all the girls became trans men and all the men became trans women?
You can't use that as a logical policy.
It's not
Privacy, and they want their locker room.
By the way, like, based kid.
I'm sorry, but offering a kid the changing of a class is not policy. I'm not sure Asmongold understands what the word policy means.
Actually, like standing up for themselves.
back. There are gender neutral options. This is my daughter's story, and the
That woman wants bathrooms to be sex labeled, but then talks about gender. That tells me all that I need to know about this case.
story of many other young girls who have been forced at the difficult age.
And I think this is another big component to it that matters a lot, is that if you have gender neutral bathrooms, the only argument that I
You
think
mean
has
sex neutral bathrooms, since this lady is calling for designating bathrooms biological male and biological female, which are not gender. These are not genders, okay? Biological male is not a gender.
any water is that just from a functional perspective, they have to go into one place or another, so they have to go here, right? But that's not the case. They have a gender neutral bathroom, so they should just go there. The solution is literally right in front of them, and they're choosing not to go with this solution.
Based guy who supports a president who walked in on girls' changing rooms. I mean, that's okay because he's the president.
To do something they know and most adults know is wrong. Do the right thing, Deerfield, and give these girls their locker room and bathrooms back. Allowing biological males to access girls' locker rooms sets a dangerous precedent that erodes the very foundation of female privacy and safety. By making this decision, the school board is not only disregarding the concerns of young female students and
I hate these buzzwords. Like, yes, a trans woman is definitely eroding the safety and privacy of cis women. Definitely. By that logic, once again, we should just ban all lesbians from entering any sort of facilities that are shared with straight women, because that's also a violation of privacy, isn't it? Wouldn't you agree? What if a lesbian gets aroused while changing with a straight cis woman? What happens then? Shouldn't we stop it? Shouldn't we designate separate lesbian bathrooms for them to go to? Wouldn't that be the most logical step? Write in the chat. I think so. I think those people should go to sexuality neutral bathrooms or bisexual bathrooms. Let's go. Okay, that's good. Yes, Greater Ain't? Would you like the formation of the bisexual bathrooms for people to go to and bisexual locker rooms for people to be able to go? You know what I've always thought were weird? Urinals. I know. I've never used them. I actually always found urinals to be a violation of privacy. While we're on the topic of violation like that, okay? If you want to talk about the violation of privacy, then let's talk about the fact that urinals exist. You're right. Everything should be just separate stalls for people to go into and do their stuff privately, okay? I've never liked urinals. Even when I was still in, I guess, denial about my identity, I always avoided using urinals like the plague. I always went to a separate stall, no matter what.
their families, but also establishing a legal and policy.
By the way, this is a topic that people choose to vote off of.
That's bullshit, by the way. That is completely not true. We're gonna look it up now. This is not a topic that people choose to vote out of. This is the biggest lie of this 33-minute video. US polls how many people care about trans issues. Oh my gosh. Well. Most favor protecting trans people from discrimination, even as growing share say gender is determined by sex at birth. Strongly oppose. Strongly in favor of protecting trans people, 64%. Neither in favor nor oppose, 25%. Strongly oppose, 10%. And this guy just tells me that people vote on that. I wonder if Asmongold has ever called a woman a Karen. Yes. Like, is he really gonna look at that and tell me, oh yeah, people definitely vote. That's the topic that people choose to vote on. Okay, bathrooms and not allowing trans people to go to their preferred bathroom. That's definitely the main deal breaker or candidate maker when it comes to elections. Like sometimes they have those walls in between, but not always. And even then it's not hard to see beyond the little divider wall. Also, they smell, and the solution is somehow just to throw a urinal cake in and everyone keeps peeing on it. Like, it's stupid. Urinals should be eliminated. It doesn't really... There's this I'm gonna be honest. There's this assumption that quote unquote biological males don't need privacy. There you go. That is why urinals exist. Okay? It's not because quote unquote biological males can pee standing. It's because there's an assumption that there's no need for privacy for them. Yeah. I mean, is it easier to construct a urinal than to just construct a separate stall? I'm not so sure. Most people don't care about trans issues as a voting matter, okay? More people care about things like the economy, things like being able to put food on the table. This is not a thing that people vote over.
So it doesn't matter what your policy is on Israel or Palestine or Ukraine or anything like that. If you're telling parents that their teen daughter has to dress out in front of a man, policy is...
Yes, that's very intelligent of Asmongold to compare trans issues, domestic trans issues, to foreign affairs, about which most Americans also don't care, okay? Americans are not people that stay tuned, that just are all in touch with when it comes to what's happening in foreign affairs. In Israel, Palestine, in Ukraine, in Myanmar, Sri Lanka, or wherever else, okay? So it's a stupid comparison. Oh wow, Americans don't care about foreign affairs. But they also, and compared to that, they care about the domestic topic of trans issues. Incredible. And therefore I come to the conclusion that people vote on trans rights. No, they don't. They simply care about different domestic issues more. Like whether or not the price of the groceries will go up, whether or not the rent will go up, whether or not the inflation will go up, etc., etc. Okay? Passing a bill called Restoring Sanity to Bathrooms Act, but it's just banning urinals. True. I would clap to such a executive order. I don't know, because I don't have a phallus, but it seems like you'd still need to wipe. Usually, there's not really a need to wipe. Usually there's nothing to wipe. But yes. Jesus.
On Israel or Palestine or Ukraine or anything like that. If you're telling parents that their teen daughter has to dress out in front of a man, they're not voting for
There you go. There you have it. This is the gist of it. This is, at the end of the day, Asmongold sees trans women as men, and he believes that it's an important issue that people vote on, which is absolutely not true. Over 60% of people in the US are in favor of protecting trans people. Then you'll get at that conclusion. You'll get at the conclusion that he arrives at. If he thinks that a trans woman using the same bathroom or changing room as a cis woman is a cis woman being forced to change in front of a man, then what else is there to say, right? Nothing. Because a trans woman is not a man.
for you. That's it. That's the end of the line.
Framework that will make it increasingly difficult to protect the integrity of female-only spaces in the future.
And I think that they should keep pushing this as much as they can. And like Trump was actually right about this, about bringing up these different issues, like right before the midterms and the new elections, because anybody who is on board with it.
Yes, Trump was so right about being a super transphobe when he did his campaign, when he said that all the mental asylum, criminal immigrants come to the country to transition. Yes, he was so right to do it, of course.
This, or even slightly
what a brilliant move on Asmongold.
like apologetic about it, is immediately disqualifying themselves from office. This is, in my opinion, a single issue voter thing. If you tolerate this even 1%.
That's not true. People don't vote on trans issues. That is a myth. Like MAGA people and Asmongold like to believe that people sieve with hatred for trans people and vote on it based on that. But no, actually people don't really care about trans issues. And most people are in favor of supporting trans people, actually. So...
I think that you are disqualifying yourself from being voted for by the majority of the population. That's it. No sense.
Biggest political streamer right now on Twitch, okay? He's also calling kids men. I mean, that's neither here nor there, okay? Biggest political streamer on Twitch right now that genuinely thinks that trans issues are the thing that disqualifies candidates in the eyes of the majority of the population.
Sympathy? Yeah, exactly. What did the Democrat person say in the video? Republicans are obsessed with identity politics. Well, that's the problem. And this is the issue, is that people get mad at Republicans for fixating on trans issues. Well, if this is such an easy issue and it doesn't matter that much, then why don't you just listen to what people are saying and apply that, because it makes them more comfortable? So it's a very big...
What most people are saying is that they're pro-supporting trans people and that they don't really care about it. The problem is that it's the MAGA people that alone listen to what most people are saying. Okay, so they need to drag out those single individual examples of people that are like, oh my god, a biological male was in the same space as my cis daughter. Oh, how dare they? The polls speak for themselves. I'm sorry, you can scream and cry about it all you want. The data speaks for itself, okay? Most people are not pearl clutching about quote unquote biological males sharing the same spaces as biological females, okay? That's not a thing. It's the same thing as in, it is the exact same carbon copy, weirdly enough, of, oh my god, go woke, go broke, just listen to what the gamers want, just listen to what the customers want.
Self-report that people like this are trying to simultaneously make an appeal to triviality, but also won't budge on their initial perspective. If it doesn't matter, then why won't you change it? Well, because it does matter.
What? What kind of logic is that? If it doesn't matter, why don't you change it? That's just stupid. What do you mean if it doesn't matter, then why don't you just change it? And yes, nobody says that it doesn't matter, okay? Actually, protecting trans people does matter because of people like you. But most of the US population, to most of the population, it really doesn't matter. Most of the US population does not vote on bathrooms, does not vote on biological males and biological females. They vote on their grocery prices, they vote on their rent amount. You know, they say if it ain't broke, fix it randomly. Oh yeah, of course, of course. This is just stupid. Again, the biggest political streamer on Twitch that is trying to sell us the idea that everybody's just voting on trans women and bathrooms. That's the biggest issue.
And it matters more than anything if you have a young kid.
What if you have a young kid that's trans? What then? Does it matter then? Oh wait, maybe it doesn't matter then anymore, according to Asmongold. You know that happens, right? You know that sometimes parents have kids that are trans, right? So what then? Do those matter?
And also, the thing is that it is an indication of a worldview and a type of thinking. And that indication...
Incredible. What deep insight. Doing things is an indication of worldview. Wow. I never would have came to this conclusion. And when you do something, that is an indication of a worldview. Because what Asmongold is doing here is definitely not an indication of a worldview of some sort. Definitely not. His whole spiel is definitely worldview free.
Is something that I think like most people, like, it's like flat earth, right? That's what I said. It's just like flat earth.
What is like flat earth? Explain to me, what is like flat earth? Because if there's anybody that's a flat earther here, it's you. You go against the science of sex, the science of gender, and you go against the pulse of what people actually care about. So if there is a flat earther here, it's you. Because flat earthers are people that go against all known evidence, all known facts, and say, no, it's all fabricated, it's all wrong, it's actually all fake, and what I believe is true. Which is exactly what Asmongold is doing here. By saying, oh no, actually everybody is voting. Most of the population votes on these issues. It's the most critical issue, and if you fail on this issue, it disqualifies you as a political candidate, because everybody definitely cares about this without exception. It's such a crucial issue. Well, no, not according to the polls. According to the polls, it's exactly the opposite. People don't care about this topic. But go on. Or maybe you're talking about, or maybe are you saying that gender studies is basically like flat earth? Is that what you're putting forward? That trans people existing is basically like believing in flat earth? that giving trans people any rights, any consideration is like being a flat earther.
Die on this hill? Well, yes. And by the way, people will kill you for this hill. Not literally, right? Metaphorically. This will...
Well, you know what? Trans people get literally killed for being trans, not metaphorically. So I think we're a little bit talking past each other, okay? As far as I know, trans people get killed for real, okay?
Will be the issue that you will get voted against on if you even pay any credibility to this whatsoever.
If you pay any credibility to trans issues, you will be voted against automatically always. This is nonsense. It's not reflected in any sort of data. But who cares about data when you're Asmongold? You can just say whatever, raise your eyebrows, play with your eyebrows a bit, say something in a silly tone, and voila. Biggest political Twitch streamer. Always saying the hard facts. Always saying it how it is. Isn't that right? Amazing. What an amazing streamer.
Because, like, you're talking about, like, transgender sports, and that's like an...
Okay, what the hell are transgender sports? There's no such thing as transgender sports. What the hell does that mean? Maybe it's a language barrier. English is not my first language. Can anyone explain to me what transgender sports are? I've never even heard that term before, transgender sports. Are these sports designated for trans people specifically? Help me. Help me understand.
80-20 issue. This is transgender changing in their preferred gender locker room and the other students being forced to deal with it and not going to the gender neutral bathroom. Like, that's, like, in my opinion, a 95-5 issue.
No, it's not. You're stupid. How do you even know that most of the students are against it or for it? How do you know? Have you checked that? Have you looked into any studies about it? Or have you just listened to this one woman and concluded that nobody likes it, that nobody accepts it? Simple question. Have you actually polled all the students to see if they are against it? If they feel that they have to deal with it? Of course you haven't. You don't care about data. And then you say that the people that support trans rights are like the flat earthers. Pretty confidently.
It's way more than 80% with this.
Oh, for sure. Because you've checked it, definitely. Oh no, you haven't. You just feel that's the truth. It just feels like the truth. So definitely, if you feel it's the truth, it definitely has to be the truth. It's ridiculous. It's feels over reals. That is literally flat earth logic. It feels like it has to be true, so it has to be true. Oh wow, the earth sure looks flat. As far as I can see it, Asmongold is intimately familiar with the thinking patterns of children. I mean, true.
Thank you. Everybody, yep, there it is.
Children's genitals.
Yeah, for real.
Nobody was.
Why are you looking at children's genitals?
People booing? Oh wow. They must be flat earthers, don't they? Wow. Wait, hold on. I thought most people were on the board. Oh wait, no, that must be a fringe group of extremists. Okay? If you're pro-trans rights, then you must be a fringe extremist. Because as we all know, most people actually vote on these issues, are against trans women using cis women's facilities, always. We all know that. We all know that it's a 95% issue, and it just feels right. So it has to be true.
Nice try. Nice try.
Are you gonna elaborate, or are you just gonna say nice try, smile, and say nothing? Oh wait, it's Asmongold. Of course we're not gonna hear an elaboration or any sort of analysis or any sort of coherent thought. It's always feels over reals. Whatever feels good or bad is.
No, that's not gonna work.
Oh, okay.
Nobody was born you or you're talking.
okay.
Becky.
While they were talking.
That's not gonna work.
We'll call our next participant, Charles
Excuse me,
Friedman, please.
if we can be respectful of everybody's time here, so.
Yes.
Did she even listen? Well, what they can do, so this is the problem, is that people that are like this, they have no foundation for any of their thinking other than emotional, illogical, stupid reasoning.
Oh my god. If there's a definition for projection, we are just witnessing it live. What is Asmongold's basis for his beliefs regarding trans issues beyond irrational emotional thinking, that it's icky for a trans woman to be in the same space as a cis woman. He literally said it. It's disgusting. That's the entirety of his logic. There's nothing more. It's disgusting. There's nothing more to it. Wow. Okay. People like that.
So the only way that they can respond is by basically trying to misrepresent you in a way that's hyperbolic, that makes you seem like the dumb one.
Oh, so basically by saying, nice try, this won't work, by saying, oh my god, over and over again, by saying this is crazy and not elaborating, and saying that it's disgusting for a trans woman to change in front of a cis woman. Okay, that's definitely very grounded and not at all basically based on your feels. It's so true, Asmongold, so true. You're such a wise political streamer. You're so wise.
They have to, they misinterpret you intentionally.
There's nothing to misinterpret with you. You're not saying anything. There's literally nothing to misinterpret. It's just the disgust response trained by BS patriarch ideology rooted in control of gender roles. I mean, it is just disgust response. There's nothing more into it. There's nothing there. There's nothing there to respond to. There's nothing there to... He's not saying anything, okay? There's only one thing that I could actually substantially respond to in this video. And that is his claim that it's an important voter issue that people decide their candidates on, which is completely not true. There's data that contradicts this directly, and it takes 5 seconds to Google it. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like this is the most outrageous thing out there, okay? Because it's so data driven that you can literally just look it up in 5 seconds. Poll, how many people care about trans issues? How many people vote on trans issues? How many people in the US support trans people? And the data is clear, okay? Most people are not transphobic. Most people do not vote on trans issues. Most people don't shrivel in disgust at the thought of trans women being able to change in front of cis women or use the same bathroom. Also, it's interesting how the critique of trans politics is usually presented as backseat politicking, like you can't win elections by supporting this, instead of fronting an actual argument. Of course he won't front an actual argument because he doesn't have one, okay? He doesn't have an argument. All he has is a false narrative about this being a make or break argument in elections, which again is not true. For most Americans, this is not an important issue at all. And I don't mean this in a negative way, by the way. I don't mean this in a negative way of, oh, people just don't care in the way that they don't care if trans people live or die. No, what I mean is that a lot of people treat this as, yeah, just let them be, let trans people be, or even I'm in favor of supporting them. It's not this super important topic that people lose sleep over and they're like, oh my god, if those trans people are allowed any rights, I'm not voting for this person ever, even if they're gonna make my life much easier and better. This one issue is just breaks it for me. This one issue just makes the people unelectable for me. That's not a thing. That is absolutely not a thing that happens, okay? I'm sorry to say, but trans people, in a way, trying to paint trans people as this group that ills of society can be blamed on has failed, okay? It also failed in a way in Poland. When Polish far-right politicians started making rounds during elections, parliamentary elections, saying how Jimmy in 5 seconds decides to become Martha, as much, and this is an important thing, okay? Poland is the worst country in the entirety of Europe when it comes to the LGBT rights. Poland is the worst country when it comes to acceptance of LGBT people, okay? It's the most bigoted country in the entirety of Europe. Only, I think, Russia and Belarus beat Poland when it comes to being bad for the LGBT, okay? And still, when the far right in Poland try to use trans rights as an issue to vote over, people did not resonate with it. People did not care, okay? People did not bite. It has to tell you something that if you go to a really bigoted anti-LGBT country like Poland and try to win elections on trans rhetoric and people just don't care for it, then just mean that even in bigoted countries, people don't treat it as the most important issue, okay? People just don't. People are not, even if people are bigots, they're not gonna be like, oh my god, I care about this more than I care about whether or not I can afford food. They just won't. And America is a far more tolerant country than Poland when it comes to the LGBT across the board, okay? The US is far more progressive when it comes to LGBT rights than Poland. So I don't buy for a second that Americans vote on trans issues and whether or not a trans woman can go into a bathroom or a changing facility. It doesn't directly affect most people, that's just math. So really tolerance is the least intrusive option. Yeah, the intolerance is bringing back the bathroom police, male officers inspecting cisgender women's genitals at the point of a gun and the shock of a taser. By the way, we might even talk about this today, the fact that Trump is in a weird symbolic way moving back towards segregation, racial segregation, which is a bizarre shift to see in the US, but here we are. People have already started sounding alarms about the fact that something that Trump has passed is basically, it's something about, I think, federal buildings or public office buildings, about lifting protections against segregation policies in those spaces. We're gonna read about it a little bit. It's very bizarre to see. It's really bizarre to see in the news a sentence that says, while segregation is still illegal, this move by Donald Trump indicates a certain shift in policy and mentality around it. It's really bizarre to see. Eastern Europe is unique for this. They polarize people between putting food on the table and progressive policy. In the UK, progressive policy and bread and butter issues always came hand in hand. Right. Like, it's very weird. I'm not sure how it is in the UK, but I know from the polls that I've been checking that most US people don't vote on trans issues, okay? It's not a thing. Well, he believes in segregation. He paid huge fines rather than rent to non-whites. That is weird. That is weird. I have a few rooms that I rent out to people to bolster the family budget. Most of the people that rent the rooms from me are from places like Ethiopia or, well, a lot of people from Africa recently, actually. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's just weird, this backpedal to a state of affairs that we should absolutely reject. But who cares about that? Who cares about human rights eroding? Who cares about the economy being crashed? Who cares about any of that when in reality people vote on trans sports, whatever that means, and people going to bathrooms of not their assigned gender? Have you seen the film Pride? It's based on a true story. The miners' unions pushed for greater acceptance of gay people. I have not seen the film Pride, but if you join my Discord and are willing to set it up, we could do a watch party of it. We sometimes do watch parties of movies on the Discord, so if you're willing to organize a watch party for this film, we could watch it sometime on the server. That could be a good idea. Although we've been usually it's on all of my videos. My Discord link is in all of my videos. Let me go get it right now. We've been watching Wallace and Gromit recently as well. It's I've never seen Wallace and Gromit before, and it's really nice. I'm a big fan of animation, and stop motion animation is something that I feel requires a very specific set of skills to pose the characters and everything just right to make the fluid and the animation in Wallace and Gromit is really fluid, really fluid. A lot of stop motion animation just does not reach that level of fluidity when it comes to the animation. There you go. This should work. This link should work for the Discord. I'm pretty okay, although I have neglected a lot of things because I overslept. We're gonna have to talk about it a bit after stream if it's okay. If you're okay to talk to me a bit. I've sent you a message. Hey Lucy, I have stop motion artists I could recommend you. They make horror shorts on YouTube. Robert Morgan. Can you DM it to me? In fact, can you DM me the link to YouTube? That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, my friend tried to do a little stop motion thing for a contest. It's not easy to make good stop motion animation. Making good stop motion animation really puts your animation principle knowledge to the test, I would say. You really have to have a handle on all the rules, all the principles of animation to be able to do it well. I like Wallace and Gromit because I'm from Yorkshire. I always makes fun of. It's nice. I like the humor. I also like that Wallace and Gromit is so laid back, if that makes sense. That whatever happens, the protagonist never actually gets mad, angry, and always feels so relaxed about life. There is a certain charm to it, you know? If that makes sense, I think. Thank you. Thank you for sending to me. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot to be said about Wallace and Gromit. I've been sort of recommended it by Dr. Johns, for that matter. And we started watching, and it's really nice. It's really, really nice. We should watch the Aardman documentary after all the movies. Yeah. I feel like we should all watch we should watch all the shorts as well. I want to sort of watch all the stuff that was made. Yeah, all the animation that was made. Stop motion is easier if you use Lego. Plaster Cannon is a nightmare to work with. Yeah, but there is a thing that you can use with. There is a thing that you can achieve with moldable material that you will not be able to achieve with Lego. Because one of the important principles of animation that creates a natural look in the motion is squash and stretch. And with rigid figurines like Lego or anything else, you will never achieve squash and stretch because you cannot squash or stretch Lego, you know? So there will always be an element of rigidity when it comes to stop motion created with Legos. But if you work with clay or anything that's moldable, then you can create frames in which the characters will stretch a little bit or squash a little bit, and that will create a lot more fluidity in the motion that's just not achievable without that. That is a very important principle in hand-drawn animation, squash and stretch. It's also a thing that exists in real life. Sometimes, if you will, super slow motion certain movements, you will see the squash and stretch happen in real life. Although in real life it's a lot more subtle than in animation. Another important principle of animation is exaggeration. Because that's a real thing that happens. If you just record someone's moving and draw over it, it will feel very unnatural, even though technically speaking just rotoscoped someone's natural movement. In drawing, it will feel very unnatural, which is why exaggeration creates the feeling of it being much more natural and real. That's where the Wednesdale a bit came from, because Nick Park wanted Wallace to have a big toothy word to say. Wow. I should learn the principles of animation. I'm studying graphic design, which is basically a fancy term of multimedia nowadays. Yeah, I've been studying it for a bit. I am a bit of an animator myself, so to speak. I do animation. Even my profile picture on Discord is animated by me. So I know a little bit about the principles of animation and how important they are. I had the opportunity to visit Aardman at my old uni, but I didn't feel like it. Aww. But yeah, animation is, apart from politics and history, one of those things that I can talk about a lot, because I'm actually into animation a lot. Animation is something that I'm pretty passionate about. Creating it and I guess appreciating it as well. It's a real art form. It's an often underappreciated art form, but it's an art form nonetheless. It's a real pleasure to see a very fluid, well-crafted animation, which Wallace and Gromit is. Really well-crafted, really nice animation. True, I should hook up the tablet and do art streams. True, I think I'm gonna do that tomorrow. All right, let's eat a bit of spaghetti. So yes, all of that came from a little bit of a rant about the fact that people don't vote on trans issues. Okay, let's continue watching Asmongold. We're starting to have fun here, and we're not here for fun. We're here for criticizing terrible politics. Oh, while we're talking about horrible things happening, President Sunday has been demonetized. YouTube has done it again. YouTube has demonetized another creator without any real logic to it, without any real explanation. So if you feel it in your heart to support President Sunday in this bizarre turn of events of being completely demonetized, then I certainly recommend that you do so, especially since like it does content creators dirty. YouTube does content creators dirty on the regular without any reasonable justification. Like the creator Dylan Burns has been demonetized for what, over a year, without any real explanation as to what the violation was, and then was remonetized also without any explanation, completely randomly. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that companies that host these that companies that allow people to stream or post videos feel like they can just terminate a person's income without explaining anything. I found it to be ridiculous. And there's a different content creator, I'm not gonna name them mainly because I just don't remember their name, that has written a huge post explaining why we should not care about this, because at the end of the day President Sunday will be fine. He has a lot of fans, they will all migrate and pay through other means. But that's not even the point. I think the point should be that we should all actually really care about the fact that corporations feel that they can just cut you off from your income without any rhyme or reason. Okay, it shouldn't be like this. A company should not just be able to, there you go, now you don't make money anymore, and we're not gonna explain why. It's that should not be a thing. Okay, is it unreasonable for me to say that it's pretty ridiculous that, to begin with, very rarely you get to interact with a living person when you have problems with YouTube? That also should not be a thing. You got demonetized while not knowing what could be wrong. That's especially a problem if you've produced hundreds of videos. So you have what? You have to check every single one of them to see if there's anything wrong with them. It's ridiculous. And then when you actually try to appeal and contact someone to know more, you get greeted with automated responses and chatbots. Hard posting is the person you're thinking of. Yes, thank you. That is the person I'm thinking of, I think. It's ridiculous. Like, if anything, that is the reason why we should care about this, okay? I think, at least. This should not be acceptable. Imagine if you had a job from 9 to 5 and then your boss could just fire you without any explanation, okay? Would just say, oh yeah, you've done wrong, you've messed up in your job, you're fired, and that's it. We're not gonna explain why. There's nothing you can do about it. You can appeal you being fired, but basically, yeah, that's it. The conversation's over. We're gonna refer you to a chatbot to explain to you how we're not gonna explain to you why you're fired. That's called right to work laws in the US. Good point. When people depend on a platform for their livelihood, it's crazy. It can just get cut off. They actually can in the US. No reason required and no appeal. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. Okay? It's crazy, I feel like. I was suspended from my political party while I was counselor via email. I was walking my dog at the time. That was rough. At will employment. This is ridiculous. Like, things like that should require an in-depth explanation, an exact pointing out of what the violation is, what can be done to remedy the violation. Same with employment, by the way. If you're getting fired, you should be explaining step by step what exactly you did that caused you to be fired, what steps you can do in the future to avoid that, or heck, you should be given a chance actually. First, you should be given a warning. This behavior is not acceptable at the workplace, or this or that is happening, and if this keeps up, we might have to let you go. This is the bare minimum that should be happening at a workplace, okay? So we're gonna give you a time to sort of adjust, to sort of fix the issue that we feel is happening, and if the issue gets resolved, then we can continue work. We can just continue work, and everything will be fine. And if not, then we're going to have to take steps to, that's what is supposed to happen at a workplace, no? Not, oh yeah, you're fired and we're not explaining anything. Ridiculous. Hello, am I at the not nice part? Yes, we're watching Asmongold, so yes, you are. I'm also talking about President Sunday being demonetized. It's silly. It's just, silly is putting it lightly, to be honest. That's why nobody should go into YouTube looking to earn money. I mainly depend on donations from people watching. And with that said, if you enjoy what I do, why not consider joining the page lucyhaza.org/live and donating if you feel like I'm your favorite streamer, okay? I depend on you to buy food for my dog, which, by the way, I'm gonna be back for a second because I'm gonna take out a slab of meat from the freezer, and it's gonna be defrosting as I stream. So I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna start defrosting the meat now so I can feed the dog in the morning. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna be right back. We're so far gone in the US that saying workers should be paid at all is considered communism. Jesus Christ. But yes, please consider joining the page. Dog eating better than me. That's not true. Also, after stream, I'm gonna have to walk him. I'm gonna walk him, and he's gonna be great. An adventure, even though it's cold and I'm dying, but it's gonna be a great adventure. He likes it when I walk him. Now he lied down. Raw meat diet for the doggy. He eats dry food and meat. In the morning, he eats the meat. So I have some meat. I defrosted. I actually try to warm it up. I actually probably warm it up a little bit so that it's not just cold but warm. I think that's a good idea. How cold it is in Poland right now? Right this moment, it's... Let me see what the temperature is. Let me check. Temperatura Warszawa. It's like -1 degree Celsius. So it's fairly cold. It's -1. I feel cold inside right now. In the house, actually. I'm feeling cold right now. And I feel like the dog might be feeling cold as well a bit in the house right now. Usually when I lie down, there's a thing, because the house that I live in, there's the ground floor and there's the upper floor. And my bedroom is in the upper floor, but I don't use it right now. I don't use it because the dog is still young and he always follows me around and he doesn't want to be anywhere without me. So I don't use my bedroom right now because he is still young and his bones are not fused properly apparently yet. A few months have to pass for his bones to get fused properly. So I've been told not to let him use the stairs. So I've sort of blocked the stairs and I don't go upstairs at all right now. I sleep on the couch that's downstairs, and usually he goes and sleeps on the couch with me, and I cover him up with the blanket as well. So I don't use my bedroom at the moment because I don't want him to follow me upstairs on the stairs, because apparently if he does something abrupt, jumps on the stairs or something like that, he might hurt himself because his bones are not properly fused yet. So I sidestepped that problem altogether by not going upstairs at all for the moment. Apparently the best way for me to handle that would be for me to carry him upstairs, but he's quite big, so that's more than I can handle alone. I would not be able to just pick him up and carry him upstairs, okay? He might be a puppy, but he is actually quite big. So those are the things, you know? I've explained to you why I sleep on the couch, and then he sleeps with me on the couch usually. And then after a while he gets a bit, I don't know, because usually when he is on the couch, I sort of have to, how should I, bundle up as well, because there's no room for me to stretch out then. So I sort of bundle up into a little bit of a ball myself then, and we're just two balls. German Shepherd. Long-haired German Shepherd. So yeah, he's a really smart dog as well, but it's neither here nor there. Alright, let's continue watching Asmongold and let him explain to us why trans issues is the key issue on which everybody votes, and it's totally how it is. What do you think of Germany's rearmament? I think it's not a bad thing considering just what's happening with Russia. I am worrying about parties like AFD coming to power though, and rearmament. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that does not concern me. What the rearmament will mean if should AFD, for example, come to power and decide that maybe a 3-day special operation in Poland is in order, you know, to get back the lands that should be in Germany but are part of Poland right now. Poland is rearming hardcore too. Poland is spending more GDP on the military than any other country. But of course the problem is that we speak in oh hello Simon Pierre de Bay. So hello. I'm not a cutie though. Like, we speak in terms of GDP percentage, but we also have to keep in mind that a huge percent of GDP for Poland is still less in absolute numbers than the same amount of GDP for Germany, I think. Not to mention the US. I think Die Linke did some pretty cool campaigning on trans rights. Trans people exist, billionaires shouldn't. I love when my name is pronounced perfectly. Thank you. Thank you. I try my best. I'm a bit of a language person as well. I like languages, you know. Also, I encourage you. I encourage every single one of you to join this page and, you know, support your favorite streamer in the struggle to put meat on my dog's table, I think. Also, there's been a few projects. There's been things that have drained me financially, so I need help. I need all the help that I can get. It's been an intense period. Sounds like a reasonable reason. True. I try to be reasonable. I also try to build an audience, which is why I do my best. I try to do my best, even though I oversleep, which is technically speaking the opposite of doing my best, but I have a reasonable excuse. I set up my alarm clock. Where should I post about films? Yeah, the Discord, yeah. That's a good place to post about films, yeah. And we can watch them together. Oh yeah. I set up an alarm clock to wake up at 8 p.m. And I was like, I'm gonna do so much at 8 p.m. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a wonderful time. And then I fell asleep. And then I woke up at 10 p.m. and my alarm clock was silent. And it just silently went into negative numbers, okay? I have this minute tracker, and when a set amount of minutes go, it's supposed to start ringing. But instead of ringing, it just goes into negative numbers and start counting negative numbers. And what the hell am I supposed to do with that? How is that supposed to wake me up? Just the alarm clock going into negative numbers and starting to count the negative numbers. It does not help me. But yes, that is basically why I missed out on a lot of things. Like, I was supposed to do timestamps for the editor, but I didn't. So no segments are coming out. And I have to do that now. It's crazy. I've actually considered not streaming tonight and just doing timestamps for the segments so that I can come out as videos. Especially since slightly more people have been watching the segments now than before. It's reaching hundreds of viewers. Recently, there's been a video that has reached 600 views. And yes, we're watching Asmongold, but I'm not gonna just expose you to pain. We're also playing Final Fantasy Tactics while we're watching Asmongold, so that it's balanced at least a little bit. Oh, Lucy, you need to a bunch of shorts to pump the algo. Stunlock, yeah, a long one. I feel like I will put out more shorts from Ukraine. I'm gonna take fragments from my interviews from Ukraine, and I'm gonna upload them as shorts. I already have 2 shorts up from Ukraine. One from me volunteering in one of the cities where massacres happen, and the second one is me interviewing a Ukrainian volunteer that helps create camouflage nets for the soldiers, and her explaining how she used to view Russia and how her view of Russia has changed after the full-scale invasion. So I feel like, because I've done these interviews with my phone, so they're not really high quality enough to make any sort of more edited high quality production out of, but they're okay to make shorts out of. Does that make sense? I just made some Turkish spice blend. That is nice. Does that make sense? It's not good enough for a longer video with proper editing and direction, but it's good enough to upload as a short, I think. We chop the interviews up, and for example, within a minute you can have a question, or I can even just skip the question, and if the response is self-explanatory, I can even skip the question asked and just post the response as a short, which I think is exactly what I did with the volunteer. I just posted her response because it's super self-explanatory without even posting the question. All right, okay, let's continue watching Asmongold and why trans issues are the make or break issues for political candidates. Thank you for the tier 1. Final Fantasy Tactics is not big enough to see the battle. Oh, well, that's easy to fix. That is actually, yeah, it's actually very small. How should I do this so that... Oh, I know. We could reverse the proportions, actually. We could actually do the opposite. If you're interested in seeing Final Fantasy Tactics more, then we could do this, and we could actually make the Asmongold video small. Does that work better? I think that works better. That works a little bit better, I think. Thank you. I'm gonna cook a chickpea recipe tomorrow, maybe roasting the spiced chickpeas with red onion. Make a salad of cucumber, tomato, lemon, garlic, and Greek vinaigrette. Make basmati rice and mix it all together with some feta, and wow, that's cooking. I should cook more, but like, the house is a mess because the dog has made the house a mess, and I feel like I never have time to properly clean, but I have to do it. I have to clean the house properly, preferably today or... Alrighty. Oh, have I been mentioning a movie? This is what I was talking about. Pride, wonderful. The poster looks kind of cool. I know one of the people who currently runs in the legacy organization as LGSM. He even has the same banner as the film. I think the story is good because it shows that social issues and minority issues don't have to be mutually exclusive. Yeah, I guess so, yeah. That is pretty cool. It would be cool to watch that movie together. I mean, I don't know. To be fair, I don't know how many hours to sleep you get, but you seem to sleep a lot. Yeah. I don't know. I've been feeling so tired lately. It's crazy. And my team is in bad shape, yeah. I think I'm medically okay. I always have blood tests when I go to the person that prescribes my hormones, and usually my tests come out okay. I feel like my schedule is just really messed up, my sleep schedule. Like, I don't really sleep at night, I stream at night. So the amount of sleep that I should be sleeping at night, I usually end up sleeping during the day. And I'm not really good at gauging how much sleep I should have. So I end up like I probably end up sleeping the regular amount that people sleep, but it's just at very inconvenient hours, if that makes sense. Do you take a multivitamin? Not really, no. Like 8 hours, but those hours are scattered everywhere. Something like that. Like I go to sleep. I went to sleep at about 7. I think 7. I wanted to sleep a bit. I wanted to wake up at 8, but instead I woke up at 10. So it's like 3 hours of sleep, I think. Ironically enough, I got a better sleeping rhythm in Ukraine than in Poland, which sounds weird, but it's true. I think I had a better sleeping rhythm in Ukraine, I guess, yeah. But I also take a really long time to fall asleep because I often think about things for a long time before I fall asleep. So I don't usually go to bed and just fall asleep. It usually takes me a while for sleep to come. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that makes sense in that sense. Yeah, it does. Usually my dog, which is very interesting, my dog actually adjusts to me. When I go to sleep, I lie down and go to sleep. My dog will just lie down and sleep. And when I stand up and go anywhere, my dog will just wake up and follow me no matter what. Like, he can be asleep, I'm asleep, I open my eyes and go up to go to the toilet, and he'll just jump up and follow me to the toilet. And then I go out of the toilet, I go back to the couch and sleep, and he follows me and either gets on the couch as well or lies next to it and falls asleep as well. Like, he adjusts to me. It's kind of cute if you think about it. I'm probably gonna have to walk him right after this stream. Right after this stream, before I do anything else, I'm probably going to have to either spend some time with him in the garden or just walk with him. Yeah, my cat used to follow me like a dog as well. That's a whole story about my... Okay, let's return to the pain. I think we're having a bit too much of a wholesome time here, and I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think having too much wholesome time is appropriate. Also, I would like to eat the meal as well. It sounds really good, the meal. Also, the apple butter was really good. Though I will say that I have not, full disclosure, I have not eaten a lot of the apple butter. I still have the Old Bay. I still actually have quite a lot of the Old Bay. I save it more than, I use it a lot, but I also don't use a lot with each use, if that makes sense. So I save it quite a lot. But I will say that I really like the apple butter, but my mom ate the most of it because it stayed at her place, and I think she added it to everything, and she really liked it. She really enjoyed the apple butter. It's a really neat food item. I've only tried it with pancakes and stuff like that, but it really feels to me like it would work with meat well. It really feels to me like if you smeared it on meat, it would work really well. My cat I had before used to wake me up if he got cravings. My cat used to have nightmares, and she would wake up and only calm down when I looked in her direction. She would have cat nightmares, and she would wake up meowing frantically.
I am happy to go after that one. Thank you, school board. From what I've heard, y'all are following the law, which is fantastic. My name is Charlie Friedman. My pronouns are they, he. I am a trans person. I am the parent of a trans middle schooler. I am also the director of operations for Trans Up Front. It's a nonprofit organization fighting for trans rights. We partner with over 30 major organizations, including...
Oh no, trans rights, the thing that leads you to not being elected, you mean? You mean those horrible rights that will disqualify you as a political candidate? Those rights? Well, damn, that's disgusting. Yeah, maybe so. I could see it going well with a roast as a sweet sauce on... Yeah, exactly. I think it would really go well with a roast. I really think so. As a sweet sauce, yeah, I think so. It would really go well as a complementary flavor. Apple butter would probably go well with pork or chicken. Yeah. I think so. I'm hungry now. I still have a bit of leftover spaghetti left.
Including the ACLU, Lambda Legal, HRC.
It's really shocking that left-wing people like pay any credibility to this at all about like basically child grooming. Like, and I guess
There you go. There you have it. It really is telling that left-wing people pay any credibility to trans rights, because trans rights is basically child grooming. Because Asmongold, among other things, does not understand what child grooming is. I hate it when people jump in and use terms they simply do not understand. I use them very confidently. Oh, I'm a person, my child is trans and I've been fighting for trans rights for a long time. And then Asmongold speaks up and his comment is, yeah, left-wing people should not give this any credibility at all because it's child grooming. Am I going to hear any justification as to why it's child grooming? I doubt it. But if he calls it child grooming, it sounds scary. It sounds, oh my god, child grooming? That's horrible. Nobody should accept that. Nobody likes child grooming. That used to be a very common rhetoric about gay people, by the way, that they're pedophiles and child groomers, just so you know.
like when I see a person and they're trans and their kid that's like prepubescent is also trans, I assume that they got groomed to be trans.
You're an idiot. I'm sorry, you're an idiot. Okay, if someone is gay, okay, and they have a child, because you know what? It happens sometimes. Sometimes gay people end up having biological children. So if someone's gay, okay, let's simplify it. Someone's bisexual. If someone's bisexual and they have a child that's gay, I assume they groomed them into being gay. That is the same kind of logic. The exact same kind of logic. By which I mean it's brain dead logic. Okay? Again, it has no justification. It has no grounding in fact. It feels over reals. It feels to me like it's grooming if there's a trans person that also has a trans kid. It feels to me like it has to be grooming. It's projection, since brainwashing and manipulating and stunting the intellectual growth of children is central to conservatism and right-wing fundamentalist religion. I mean, it's not inaccurate. And this person was talking a long time about how people who support trans rights are like flat earthers with no grounding, only emotional arguments. When he just said that it feels to him like it has to be, he assumes that it has to be grooming if a trans person has a trans child, because it feels like it has to be grooming. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Asmongold. I'm sure it makes sense in your head. I'm sure in your mind it's all well reasoned. I'm sure there's a logic to it in your head. Why has he automatically ruled out the possibility for shared genetic factors that causes someone to be trans? Well, it's because it feels to him like it has to be grooming. There's nothing else to it. It feels like it has to be grooming. Is he gonna present any data? Is he gonna present any evidence? Is he gonna present anything? No, he's not. Were all those cartoons and TV shows with cishet relationships depicted grooming? No. His answer would be no, because those things are normal and being trans is abnormal. There you go. It's simple as that. One thing is normal, the other is not. The other is highly abnormal. And to be that, you have to be groomed into it. To be abnormal, you have to be groomed into being abnormal. That is the reasoning. There's nothing more to it.
I do. I assume that they got raised that way, and it's the same thing as the other video, and I'm sure that there are cases where that's not true.
What does that mean, to be raised that way? What does being raised that way entail? Can I get a description of what being raised like that includes, what it looks like?
But I think that there's a lot of them where it is true.
Oh, and you're basing that on what? Oh,
etc.
Your feelings.
We have a protest coming up for trans rights on March 30th, 1 p.m., Federal Plaza. We have and I would like to take a moment to talk about Illinois. We're all very lucky to live in a state that protects everyone here. Specific to today, Executive Order 2019-11, which my kid was standing next to Pritzker when he signed. Yes,
and by the way, there are already other permutations of this that exist things like Munchausen by proxy. And it's very common that stuff like this happens. So the idea that parents would not indoctrinate their kids in order to have some sort of worldview or behavior is just simply based off of nothing.
That's great, but being trans is, first of all, not a worldview. Being gay is also not a worldview. So this argument is empty. It's completely empty argument. Being trans is not a worldview. There you go. What now? Any counter argument to what I just said that is not based just on Fifi's feelings, your intuition, what you assume, anything?
Kids get indoctrinated into politics. They get indoctrinated into religion. They get indoctrinated into like a social system. To say that they're not being indoctrinated into
Being gay or trans is simply not true.
a gender ideology, and to say that this is impossible.
What the hell is a gender ideology? I would like a very robust explanation from Asmongold what gender ideology TM
is the most illogical conclusion that you can possibly have.
I'm sorry, you're talking to me about logical and illogical conclusions when all of your conclusions have been made based on your intuition and how you feel things should be or how you feel things are. It's completely ridiculous.
It's completely illogical.
I'm not going to listen to you about what
Executive
is
order
and isn't
from the governor.
illogical.
And in that order, it's called Strengthening Our Commitment to Affirming and Inclusive Schools, which protects trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming students from the type of bullying that this parent represents.
They're being bullied now. That's right.
No, of course not. We all know that trans people historically have never experienced any type of bullying, discrimination. No, it's actually the cis people. It's actually the cis parents that are bullied and that are being discriminated against. We all know that discrimination against trans people is a myth. We all know that's absolutely not the case, says Asmongold mockingly when he points, they're being bullied now.
And this is and the entire, you have to understand that the entire worldview of these people is completely based around victimhood. It's based around victimhood.
Yes, it's all just based around victimhood because, you know, it's all ridiculous. Trans people never get discriminated. There have never been a case of a trans person being harmed, killed, or anything like that because they're trans. That actually never happens. It just imagined victimhood. It's just crying wolf, isn't it? It's just, wow. It's actually very funny that Asmongold says that the entire ideology of these people is about victimhood when he just listened to a woman talk for a few good minutes about her cis girl child being victimized by trans people being in the same space as them, how they're a victim of the school that forced their children to dress up, quote unquote, in front of trans people, and he just nodded and said based, and now he says that trans people are all about victimhood. What do I even say to that? When he just nodded for a few good minutes like an idiot to a person basically painting a victimhood narrative about cis children. And then he took that and said that it's some big voting issue that everybody votes on. It's ridiculous. Oh yeah, he's been talking about woke games as well, of course. It's ridiculous. It's based on nothing. What is the victimhood ideology?
And the ability to take on the mantle of the victim and then justify bad actions as a result of that.
Projection. What exactly has this woman at the beginning been doing, if not projecting an image of victimhood and actually excusing discrimination against trans people based on it? Please explain that to me. What was that in the beginning when that lady was painting a narrative about her children being forced to watch biological males in the same spaces, how they were traumatized, how they were violated, how it was all so bad, and Asmongold was just saying how based it is, how good it is that this is being talked about and how important this is as a voting issue. And now he tries to claim that's not what's happening at the beginning. No, it's trans people. They just want to be victims.
I hate these people. I think that these people do a tremendous disservice to the trans community. And
Oh, yes, because Asmongold has a deep, deep understanding of the trans community. Trans people should just be, you know, good little people in the closet. Eventually, they should go to gender neutral spaces. They should not really fight for their rights. Trans people should not just actually fight for acceptance, because fighting for acceptance is just a disservice to our community.
and the inclusion and the fixation on trying to indoctrinate and make trans issues community, and the inclusion and the fixation on trying to
sorry.
that. I hate these people.
I have to listen to this again because
I
it's
think-
just brain rot. And I'm watching this because this genuinely is currently the biggest political streamer on Twitch. Just so you know.
That these people do a tremendous disservice to the trans community, and the inclusion and the fixation on trying to indoctrinate and
Indoctrinate who? Into what? What's the indoctrination? Fido, hush. What's the indoctrination exactly? And how can trans people achieve inclusion if de facto you're against including them? You're pro-exclusion. How come right-wingers get to say whatever they want and platforms just let them? That is a good question.
make trans issues accessible to and relevant to minors is such an unpopular issue that I think they are doing irreparable damage to the trans community. And
Yes,
they-
allowing kids to be themselves is such a disservice to the trans community that it's incredible. And we all know that it's such a huge voter issue, isn't it? It's so important for all the voters, the trans issues, yes. As the polls naturally reflect. Oh wait, no, they actually don't. The polls actually reflect the exact opposite. Whoops, how embarrassing. Yeah, he outright says insisting on inclusion is a mistake. Yeah, trans people should just either stay in the closet or just stay out of sight. Out of sight, out of mind.
they will cause people to straight up hate trans people. And it's already happening.
It's not happening. Over 60% of Americans are pro support of trans people. So no, it's not already happening. I know that people like Asmongold would love for you to believe that it's already happening. But again, the data does not reflect that. I welcome Asmongold to Google the data on that on stream, live. The polling data, how people feel about trans people. I welcome him to check that. If really so many people hate trans people because they seek inclusion and seek to be accepted. I want to see Asmongold read that data live and see if it agrees with what he's saying. He might be a little bit surprised by the effects, by the results. See there again, they made me hate them by insisting on their rights. Yeah, because they're disgusting. Trans people are disgusting, they don't deserve rights, and if they fight for them, they just make the population hate them. Even though the data clearly says that most of you people in the US not only not hate trans people, but are pro-supporting them. I welcome Asmongold to sing, but fat chance that is ever going to happen. And he's just not some nobody. He's the biggest political streamer right now. Yes, Greater Rain? I like all sorts of cheese, from yellow to cream, because that's probably what you're gonna ask me. Question, why does anger and hate make it's acceptable to MAGA, Asmongold? I wonder. I get the unspoken sense that many of the conservative people in my area think of trans topic as forbidden and dirty. Yeah, because trans people are disgusting and unnatural. So of course it has to be a dirty and forbidden topic. Like, of course, naturally. Wow. I'm listening among the greats. A quick reminder that President Sunday has been demonetized on YouTube and that you can chip in to support them in this tough time. Rooks doesn't even want to debate me, so I don't know. Crazy for him to be considered a a political streamer since he was always a proudly mindless, uneducated, intellectually incurious gamer before. I mean, it's now popular for him to react to Trump content, so he's a political streamer, like it or not. He comments on politics, he throws his hat in the ring when it comes to issues of political nature, he does commentary, and he has a huge audience that listens to him and takes what he talks about as, I don't know, deep analysis. So he has to be reacted to as a political streamer. Even though the extent of his analysis is basically, I feel like it's disgusting, I feel like this is grooming, this is crazy, and people vote on this even though I have no evidence that they do. And the actual data actually contradicts me completely. But other than that, I'm completely right. Is Kevin Logan demonetized too? Not to my knowledge, no. I think Kevin Logan is monetized, no. I think Kevin Logan's monetization is okay. I've been thinking of doing something together with Kevin Logan, but I've even DM'd him recently. Okay, spuds.
And I feel bad for average adult trans people who just always felt like, oh, I'm the opposite gender. I'm going to go through a transition surgery. And they just want to live their life through the opposite gender. And they unfortunately get lumped in with these extremists, these radicals, these straight up hate trans people.
I'm sorry.
And it's already happening. And I feel bad for average adult trans people who just...
What the hell is an average adult trans person that just wants to live their life through the opposite gender? How that would require acceptance. That would require for them to be able to use their preferred bathrooms. That would require for them to use their preferred facilities. But you're anti that. You're against that. So what you just said makes absolutely no sense.
Always felt like, oh, I'm the opposite gender. I'm going to go through a transition surgery. And they just want to live their life through the opposite gender.
What the hell is a transition surgery? God, this person. A transition surgery. I'm going to go for a transition surgery. That tells me everything that I need to know about how much Asmongold understands about transition in general. Yeah, I'm trans, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a transition surgery. Wow. Okay. Transition surgery. Goodness.
And they unfortunately get lumped in with these extremists, these radicals, these psychos, and in a lot of cases, I think groomers. You have parents saying that they knew their kid was trans before their kid could talk. No, they didn't. That's...
I have no clue where you're taking this from. First of all, it's stupid. Well, what do you want? He's a reactionary. I know, but it's just... There are reactionaries that at least try to put out a semi-logical argument. And then there is a person that just says whatever comes to mind, whatever feels right, whatever feels okay. Just says, oh yeah, these people are psychos, these people are groomers, without any justification, without any evidence, without any logical through line as to how he arrived at that conclusion. And then he turns it around and says, oh yeah, those psychos, they're so illogical, they're all about irrational emotional thinking, when he's demonstrating irrational emotional thinking by saying, oh yeah, when a trans person has a trans kid, I just assume they're a groomer, because of course I just automatically assume they're a groomer. Just pop by the strip mall for a transition surgery and oil change. Won't take a minute. True. Just get your transition surgery. I never heard of a trans kid not talking. It's always a kid who articulates feelings of gender identity and conform with certain gender expression like clothes and play. Yeah, I know. Yeah, he might as well be a Christian fundamentalist.
That's probably child abuse.
Yeah, and you can definitely demonstrate it with any factual information and not just how you feel about it, right? That definitely happens, and you can definitely prove it with data. Not with anecdotes, not with your feelings. Definitely you can.
It's insane.
Oh yeah, it's super insane.
They're radical lunatics. They are. They're radical lunatics.
Of course.
And the problem is that these people are caricaturing, like, trans people have like an extremely high rate of suicide. Obviously, you know, it could be due to like underlying.
Yeah. Why are people? Why do trans people have such a high rate of suicide? Asmongold. Let's discuss this for a moment. Could it have anything to do with a large-scale societal lack of acceptance? Could that have anything to do with it? With people that say that them changing in front of other people of their preferred gender is disgusting? Could it have anything to do with them being called disgusting by people like you? I wonder. I really wonder if it has anything to do with it.
Gender dysphoria. But I think another reason why trans people kill themselves a lot is because they're not accepted in society.
Oh,
And
so basically the thing that you're fighting against, basically the thing that you hate to see happen, trans people being accepted in society, you know, which includes trans people being able to use the facilities that they identify with, you know, the facilities that the gender that they identify with uses. That's part of acceptance. Or is that a foreign concept to you?
I think that these people are doing so much damage to those people that are just trying to live their life in a way that they think is authentic to themselves.
And how can you do that if you're not accepted? If you identify as a woman and you were barred from any woman's spaces, then how can you actually live in a way that feels true to yourself? Can I have an explanation to that? Can I have an answer to that? What form of acceptance of trans people is acceptable to Asmongold?
And I think that's what's really sad
This is
about
just incoherent, okay? First he rants about how trans people are disgusting, how trans women are men that change in front of girls, and then he says, oh yeah, but actually those who fight for trans people, those are the ones that are doing trans people a disservice, okay? When you want trans women to be able to go into a women's bathroom, you're actually doing a disservice to trans people that just want to live their lives in a way that feels true to themselves. Like, I feel like you should be able to see how, like, it's just incoherent. There's no rhyme or reason to what he is saying. There's no grounding, as he said himself. He has not thought these positions through at all.
About it is that you have these people and they're just totally destroying it.
How? What are they doing that's destroying it?
It's like forcing
Can you
your kid to go to
explain?
church. I think this is a bit worse. It's not society's fault.
Yes, allowing your kids to be themselves is worse than forcing your kids to go to church. Absolutely yes. There is a rhyme and reason to what he is saying, but it's you've not been here from the beginning. It's internally inconsistent. Okay? It is completely internally inconsistent. The rhyme and reason to what he is saying is internally inconsistent and therefore completely worthless. Because for the first 10 minutes of the video, 30 minutes of the video, he's been explaining how actually allowing trans people to live as themselves is bad, disgusting, and how it's a voter issue, how anybody who wants to fight for trans rights should be disqualified as a political candidate, and how most people vote on that, which is absolutely not true. And then he says that those who fight for trans people actually are a disservice to trans people that just want to live as themselves. As much as there might be a rhyme or reason to what he's saying, it's so incoherent, it's so divorced from any factual reasoning, from any evidence, from any... It's just feelings. It's just, I feel like these people are disgusting. I feel this is grooming. I feel this is a disservice to the good ones, to Blair White. It feels over reels, 100%. The rhyme and reason is that he's being pulled by his reactions to the thoughts he's having. So he's basically just following his feelings, which I'm not sure if I'd call it... I mean, it is a type of rhyme and reason, but I'm not sure if I would call it reasonable, if that makes sense. Yeah, of course, he's being pulled by what he feels about what he's seeing, but oh wow, Malaki.
I don't know. I think that what I'm saying, I think there's some relevance to what I'm saying.
Yeah, there is
I
a
do.
relevance to how completely, how you put on the display how irrational people like you are. I think there's a relevancy to it. Hence, he's a reactionary. I guess so. Oh God. There's no analytical thought put into this. None whatsoever. If a 5-second Google search can just contradict what he's saying, then what are we even talking about? Right? At that point. What are we even talking about? We could be talking about very interesting things. We could be talking about philosophy, even though I know nothing about philosophy. But I could be learning about the basics of philosophy. But instead, I'm here listening to Asmongold say that if a trans person has a trans child, they must be a groomer because it just feels right. And that all Americans vote on trans issues because it's so important. And that if any political candidate speaks of trans issues, they are disqualified as a candidate because, of course, not reflected in any data, but who cares about data? Data is for weak, woke people. Data is for lunatics, for crazies. Just get a trans surgery. We could read Nietzsche. We could read Nietzsche. God. We could be reading Nietzsche, and I could be actually reading Nietzsche and talking about him. Would anybody be actually interested if I read Nietzsche on stream? I wanna hear from the 13 people that are watching this stream right now. How many of you would be interested if I actually read philosophy as part? If I, let's say I stream, if I would set aside a bit of time from time to time on stream, let's say an hour, to read philosophy and try to figure out what it means, what the, if I would try to give my understanding of what I'm reading together with Estelle, would that be something that you'd watch? I didn't know Zoshilik said yes. Anyone else? I could set aside a time for that. That could be a thing. If I was paying attention, I could have unmuted you. Wait, what? What do you mean? Twilight of the Idols is a good start. There is a Genealogy of Morals, which I haven't read yet. So would people be interested or not? If people will be interested, I'll set aside time and read it on stream. I'll just have to figure out a schedule. I have to figure out a schedule, more coherent schedule in general, of what I do when, so that people can actually tune in and watch what they want. If people want news and politics, I want them to be able to predictably tune in to watch news and politics. If people want, for example, Nietzsche being read, I want them to know, oh, Nietzsche is being read at this particular time. And if it's games, I want people to be able to, oh, I can tune in and predictably know that games are being played right now, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? I feel like people who tune in to me sometimes feel like they don't know what to expect exactly. Like it's a bit random. Who knows what Lucy will be doing, if it's gonna be games or if it's gonna be the depressing news, And I feel like maybe this sort of randomness is what keeps some of the people from even tuning in, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Or am I just saying nonsense? I feel like I should introduce more structure into these streams. Oh God. Feed me theory and Final Fantasy Tactics, Lucy. I'll do my best, even though I'm dying in Final Fantasy Tactics right now. Lucy always makes sense. Philosophy Tube seemed to have a good background and probably understand, but I could tell right off her video was mostly based on one book and wasn't properly grounded on research at all. Nobody wants to tell me if my plans are reasonable or not. I understand. I see what's happening. Greater and just mutes me. I know what's happening. I see what is happening here. Yeah, you just mute me. Yeah, you just mute me. Like Lucy, mute. All right, let's continue watching Asmongold. That's enough of planning for now, even though nobody wants to give me feedback.
And I do, like, it's common sense, right? If you have like
it's common sense that if it feels if I feel it's the truth, it has to be the truth. It's just common sense. If the only argument you can retreat to is it's common sense, then you have nothing. I don't respect your opinion at all if the only argumentation you can draw upon is it's common sense. You can justify anything as common sense. You can say the stupidest things and just say it's common sense, okay? I don't respect anybody that appeals to common sense as an argument. because it's the emptiest of arguments possible. There's nothing emptier than saying what I'm saying is common sense. Common sense can be actually really, really stupid, by the way. Okay? It's like in that book when it's a Polish book about the harshness of living in the countryside, where a quack doctor went to a woman whose daughter was ill and said, "Oh, she's cold. She must sweat a bit. You should put her in the oven and make her warm." And the woman cooked her daughter alive because it was just common sense to make her daughter sweat a bit, to sweat out the illness. What people perceive as common sense can be really, really stupid, actually. They don't have sun. Yes, they have ovens. I mean, it's like the countryside, so... It's the 19th century countryside, so... I'm not sure how many places in 19th century Europe actually had saunas. I forgot to tell that stories about the 19th century countryside. And also, I don't know how many dirt poor peasants had access to saunas back then.
A big piece of your identity that a lot of people actively deny and hate, then that was going to make your experience as a person worse. Is it that crazy to say? I see very little difference between the trans that want to live their lives and these aggressive lunatics. Ultimately, gender dysphoria is a mental disorder, which is an unhealthy mental condition. It should not be enabled. I think that an adult should be able to make their own decisions on what they want to enable and what they don't want to enable for themselves. Because
There you go. Let's listen to that again, because it's crucial to his ideology, let's just say, to his worldview.
Free on what they enabled. Gender dysphoria is a mental disorder, which is an unhealthy mental condition. It should not be enabled.
Okay, first of all, someone in Asmongold's chat has an equal understanding of gender issues and what gender dysphoria is, as Asmongold himself, because saying gender dysphoria is a mental condition and is what's the phrase?
I think dysphoria is a mental disorder, which is an unhealthy mental condition.
Okay, first of all, the phrase unhealthy mental condition makes no sense. It's like saying unhealthy illness. That's first of all.
It should not be enabled.
And second of all, it's basically like saying a broken leg is an unhealthy injury and it should not be enabled. You should not enable people having a broken leg, okay? By allowing them to treat it. Because gender affirming care is treatment for the gender dysphoria, okay? It's helping people with their gender dysphoria. So by saying you should not enable it, you basically say that you should not treat it. It's literally like saying having a broken leg is unhealthy and you should not enable it by putting a person's leg in a cast. Actually, if your leg is broken as a minor, you should not have a cast. Maybe you should be able to make that decision as an adult, if whatever you enabled for your body. But as a kid, you should just walk it off. You should just walk around with a broken leg without putting it in a cast. After all, you're just a minor. You shouldn't be able to make such decisions. Wait till you're 18. How can one juggle all these seemingly contradictory statements unless he's literally flip-flopping between different attitudes? I don't know. I told you, it's just feelings. He just says what feels right. It makes absolutely no sense. That's why I said that there's no rhyme or reason to it, because he just randomly jumps between contradictory positions. Everyone has feelings. I know everyone has feelings, but not everyone just goes, okay, there's a difference between having feelings, okay, and with justifying everything that you do with your first gut emotional reaction to something, okay? Sometimes, for example, you might have a very strong gut emotional reaction to something, and later you might think to yourself, hey, was my emotional reaction to this justified, right? Just because I feel something doesn't mean that it's absolutely true. Are there any factors at play? Could something else be happening here? Maybe I'm not feeling like this because this is how things are, but maybe there's something else happening with me that's making me feel like this. You know, there are many factors to consider. It's not like, oh, I feel like it's grooming, so it has to be grooming, okay? I feel like when a trans person has a trans kid, it has to be grooming. I assume so, because that feels just like common sense to me. Yeah, we have our feelings about things, but we shouldn't just treat our gut emotional reactions as fact about the world. Like, this is among other things why people entered philosophy, right? Like this is why people practiced philosophical thought, in my mind at least, because they didn't want to just go with gut reaction. They wanted to analyze things more deeply, right? As I understand philosophy, it is about like deeper analysis of why we think about certain things in a certain way, why we feel even about certain things in a certain way, and to understand it more, right? But concepts help us understand the world around us, no? Like, you don't just create concepts for the sake of creating concepts. You create them in order to facilitate understanding. At least that's what I think. Like, you don't just do things for the sake of doing. We could read what is philosophy then. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be nice. That would be nice. I mean, probably there's not one answer to what is philosophy, but it would be good to. That would be a good starting point, I feel, like discussing what is philosophy in the first place and going from there to read the different answers and analyze them. Boom. No broken leg doing x-rays is grooming. True. God.
I think that an adult should be able to make their own decisions on what they want to enable and what they don't want to enable for themselves.
Translation. If adults want to be freaks, they can be freaks, but if a child is trans, then they then they're a victim of grooming, because why would a child want to be a freak? There you go. I've translated the jargon of Asmongold to you.
Because you're a free person, you're a free American, you should be able to decide that as an adult. But the difference is whenever you involve underage people. That's the big issue that we're talking about here, and that's the big problem.
I mean, yeah, in this statement there is a logic, yeah. There is a logic in this statement, but in the broader, in the whole broader philosophy that he is demonstrating here, not as much. The logic is very inconsistent. I mean, inconsistent logic is also logic, but it's just inconsistent.
Problem.
Also, under the Illinois Human Rights Act, Section 3B-1, the use of restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms may not be restricted based on a student's physical anatomy or chromosomal sex. A student must be permitted to access restrooms or bathrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms that align with their gender-related identity and without having...
If that's what the law is...
Oh, those freaks. Wow, how freakish. If that's how the law is, then the law just is horrible and should be changed, because that's... the mental asylum being run by the inmates. It's crazy. If that really what the law is, then that's just crazy and unacceptable. I'm calling it here. If I'm gonna be pleasantly surprised, then I'm gonna be pleasantly surprised. I don't believe I'm going to be surprised, but we'll see. Okay? You know, you said an hour, and as long as it's like between 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. EST, it's fine. EST, right? So if we started it at 4 p.m. EST, would you be game? Okay, let's go.
Then that's what the law is. But I think the real question is why...
There you go. Let's see. The law is the law, but is the law just? Okay, I am a bit pleasantly surprised. Let's see if it continues.
Is the law that way, and why isn't it being changed right now?
Oh, okay. There you go. It's gone. Okay, my pleasant surprise is gone. Maybe the law is just wrong. Maybe it should be changed right now. Why should we respect anyone's gender identity? Okay? If you respect anyone's gender identity, you're a freak, you're an extremist. Maybe the law just caters to extremist freaks. Well, we can read it together. That's even better. That means that we can read it together and sort of think about it together. We can always get Brooks to correct us if we make mistakes. It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes if you read things. That's the whole point of reading and exploring things. You make mistakes and you can always course correct.
Yeah, so it's a stupid law. I don't know if you guys know this, but all laws are made up.
Oh, interesting. That is an interesting line of thought that Asmongold is entering, because first of all, why is the law stupid? You have to justify this in any way. And also, gender roles and how we segregate bathrooms, how we segregate which space should be used by who, how we socialize people into being disgusted by what, that is also made up. So that is an empty point, okay? You can just say this law is stupid without justifying it in any way. Why is the law stupid? What elements of this law is stupid? Why is accepting and respecting people's gender identity as a concept stupid? If you don't establish that, then you have nothing. You just, again, have your feelings about, and I don't know, common sense.
They're not real. You just change the rules. So
Also, yes, laws are in fact very real. Even if they're made up. Just because something is made up, it doesn't mean that it's not real, okay? If you murder someone, you really will go to jail. So laws are in fact quite real, okay? I really hate this idea that people try to say that because something is socially constructed that it means that it's not real. Oh, borders between countries are just made up. That means that they're not real. Oh, which is really comical from Asmongold, that is so pro-deportation, okay?
if there's a rule that's stupid, you get rid of the rule.
So why is it stupid?
I feel like that's okay, great. So she found the thing that we should change.
Why?
Federal law trumps that? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
Why should it
But
be
there shouldn't
changed?
be a state law that even says it in the first place.
Why?
To provide documentation or other proof of gender. Under this act, and it is stated, the discomfort or privacy concerns of other students, teachers, or parents are not valid reasons to deny or limit the
What is this here? Let me listen to that again.
provide documentation or other proof of gender. Under this act, and it is stated, the discomfort or privacy concerns of other students, teachers, or parents are not valid reasons.
So people's discomfort is not valid?
Yeah. What if people are racist and feel discomfort around black people? Okay. Should we say that their discomfort is valid? Asmongold, you really have not thought any of this through, have you?
But your discomfort is valid.
No.
Who decided?
It's not just about discomfort. You're an idiot, okay? Being rejected by society is more than just a matter of discomfort, okay? Your identity being completely rejected by people because they feel uncomfortable by you existing is more than just discomfort. This is stupid. Yes, me feeling disgusted by a person being in the same space as me is basically the same as their feelings of being rejected fundamentally. It's of course it's just common sense.
That. Oh, that's right. You did. I think we should have a vote on this. We'll see we'll see who's more of each group, huh? How about that?
Oh, you mean we should make a poll about this in which over 60% of Americans said that they are pro-supporting trans people? You mean that sort of vote when people already have clearly stated that the topic is first of all not that crucial for them when it comes to political topics, and second of all, most of the people in the United States are actually supportive of trans people. So I have no clue what you're talking about. Does he really think that no research on this topic has been made? Does he really think that people's opinion has not been gauged on this topic? That it's a one big unknown, that nobody has ever conducted anything on this? Well, of course not. He has not looked into it. He just feels that it's common sense that most people do not accept trans people. So he smugly says, let's have a vote on it. Let's see who's more in which camp. Well, you'd be surprised by the results, actually.
To deny or limit the full and equal use
Because the data clearly disagrees with you.
of those facilities based on a student's gender-related identity. Instead, any student, teacher, or other individual seeking more privacy should be accommodated by providing that individual with a more private option upon their request. Sounds like that would be a great option in this case for your kids.
The problem with that is what happens when too many people want that, and then it breaks this.
Okay, what happens? This is a non-argument. What happens if too many people... Well, people don't want that. What happens if too many people are disgusted with being around black people? I guess black people should just be we should go back to segregation then, according to Asmongold. Okay? Oh, there are a few races that don't like black people? Well, what if everybody turns racist? What then? Have you considered that everybody might just turn racist and don't want to be around black people in certain facilities? What then? What if the system breaks because of that? Should we not, logically speaking, just return to segregation? Isn't that common sense? You tell me. I think it makes perfect sense.
System. That's the issue with what this person's bringing up, is that basically if you have a situation where you can request to change privately, if everybody requests to change privately, there's an overwhelming amount of people in those private spaces, and the system can't function. You understand? And so you have a group of, like, let's say this is a class.
That makes no sense. This logic makes no sense.
Right? So you have a class of 30 to 50 people contorting around one person. Any logical
How do you know? How do you know if everybody's contorting around one person? How do you know that most people are not just accepting of this? You cannot make that claim without knowing if most people are not actually just accepting of the person. You're just assuming that everybody's against it and everybody's just contorting, which is nonsensical claim to make without any sort of evidence. Does that make sense? Please tell me it makes sense. Okay? Please tell me you understand what I'm trying to say here. Do you? I'm asking my audience because I like the streamer interactability. Does that make sense?
Person would immediately say that one person is the person who should be in the private room. But somehow that's not the case.
Yeah, like black people are a minority in the country. So what if everybody just decides they don't want to be around black people? It means they should be just segregated because they're the minority, right? It logically comes, like, if there is this one person that just is a racist, then it just stands to reason that maybe society should not contort around black people and everybody. What if everybody's racist? Okay, and why should society contort to one minority? Why not just return to segregation and everything would be fine? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, I guess.
Why
No
are they
more
directly
contorting.
allowed to confront other speakers in clearly hostile way? Nobody's being violent. Everybody's being civil here. Everything's fine.
Yeah, because civility, that's the biggest problem.
Excuse me.
So the
excuse
whole
me,
audience is that direction.
Excuse me. It's his time to talk, right? So.
Thank you. So if needed, we'd be happy to dig in, to contact our coalition, to make sure that the board is supported in doing the right thing for the right reasons and following Illinois state law. If you need my assistance.
And this is always what it leads back to, is that it's being on the right side of history, having the right opinions, and this appeal to some sort of amorphous form of virtue that's never really defined.
Exactly. The amorphous virtue of protecting female spaces, the amorphous virtue of not, of not exposing cis girls to a disgusting view of a trans person, because as we know, there's this silent majority of people that just don't accept people, and why should society contort to them? Yeah, that's totally not amorphous and totally, yeah, of course. You're totally not making an appeal to being on the right side of history there, Asmongold. Totally not. No, you're just appealing to common sense, of course. Naturally.
That's basically how it is.
Please do reach out. It's trans.
Yeah. Yeah, and in Asmongold's side, and in Asmongold's mind, saving people from having to endure the disgust is virtuous. So it is about virtue. It is about virtue of saving children from having to endure the disgust. Yes, actually, I will go there. Since it's about the disgust response, saving people from having to go through the disgusting experience is virtuous, therefore, in his mind. Because the alternative is just crazy. It's just insane. It's crazy, you know? It's just crazy. I don't even know how to express how crazy it is.
frontil.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Insane. Yep.
And you can see all the people clapping for this. There's a lot of people that are happy
crazy.
about this. And so what you have to do is I think that more people need to be outspokenly against this, and they need to push back against this publicly.
Hold on. If there are many people that are happy about this, that already ruins your whole narrative about what if everybody's uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, thank you, Wrapped Blue, for a rate of 37 people. Oh wow, thank you. My goodness. Now we're really building an audience on Twitch. Thank you very much. Should I introduce myself? Should I tell you what I do? Should I tell you my shtick? Okay, I'm gonna tell you my shtick now. I'm gonna tell you all about the thing. Okay, so Lucy Haze, that is my name. That is who I am. I am the biggest Polish trans streamer that does politics, history, and gaming. Yes, that is Final Fantasy Tactics. Because we're watching Asmongold being highly transphobic, and I thought to myself, we shouldn't just be doing that. We should be playing a game while doing that. Yes, I can. Can you DM me the Twitch? Can you DM me the Twitch and I'll link it? Yeah. So yes, Asmongold. I'm not sure if any of you have seen this video. It's about, of course, naturally, it's about trans people in bathrooms. This should be criminal. So the brunt of the argument is this: trans women that are in the same bathroom as women and changing spaces are basically disgusting. It shouldn't be happening. It should be criminal. And people that advocate for trans rights are actually detrimental to regular adult trans people that just want to live as themselves, whatever that means in this context. And actually, the law that says that trans people's gender identity should be respected is a bad law that should be changed, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I'm from Texas, where they tried and failed to pass the bathroom bill. It's the whole bathroom thing is just... I'm in Poland. Spoilers, I'm a Polish streamer, so I live in Poland. I'm in Poland right now. Oh, also I covered the war in Ukraine, and I travel to Ukraine pretty often. So when I was in high school, and Poland is the worst country for the LGBT in Europe by far. I think the only countries that are worse are Russia, Belarus, and a few other countries. Like, Poland is full of bigotry towards the LGBT. But when I went to high school, all the bathrooms in my school were just there was no gender segregation in bathrooms in my high school. Anybody could go to whichever bathroom they wanted. Boy, girl, or whatever else gender, you could go to whichever bathroom. There were no urinals in any of the bathrooms. It was all just stalls. So everybody just went to anywhere they wanted. And there was no outrage. Nobody was traumatized. No girl students or boy students or anyone else complained about it. The only thing that this resulted in was that people of all genders just smoked and talked together in the same bathroom, which I guess it's shocking and appalling, but that is what happened. That was the only real tangible result of the fact that of shared bathrooms, that people just would meet there on breaks to smoke cigarettes and talk. Home bathrooms are gender neutral too, but people don't realize that, I guess. Yeah, but you use them one at a time, okay? Yeah, we always, we had a mixed bathroom in high school. In fact, and that is a funny thing, when the school actually decided to segregate the bathrooms, that actually created a backlash, okay? This is where the students actually said, what the hell? I don't want to have to go to a specific floor in the school to go to the bathroom. Why do we have to change this? Why can't we just leave it as is? There's no problem, okay? So when the school actually decided to go and segregate the bathrooms to this floor will be girls, this floor will be boys, Oh, you're in a European server? We could play. I should go back to Final Fantasy 14 since I've not even started the latest expansion, so that could be fun. It's been a while. Unfortunately, I'm on European. Apparently now you can play with people from different continents though. So maybe we could play together. Yeah, I'd like to play it. I should plan my time better. Okay, I should just do better planning. But yes, I certainly hope you will enjoy this stream, and that thanks to you, maybe I will be able to build a bigger Twitch audience. That's why I started multi-streaming again, to be able to build a Twitch audience, because the struggles of a small streamer. I am a small streamer, but it's okay. Which is interesting because technically speaking, a lot of streamers know about my existence. But yeah. So yes, I do a lot of, okay. I was thinking that your English is really good. You speak other languages. I speak Japanese to a serviceable level. I started learning Ukrainian. I speak a few basic phrases in German. I know a few basic phrases in Vietnamese. I know a few basic phrases in Korean. I can read the Korean alphabet. I can kind of read the Hebrew alphabet, but that's more complicated. That's the most complicated alphabet to read that you can think of. And yeah. That's basically it. That's basically the gist of it. Usually when I stream, I have to create a more organized schedule because I do gaming. As you can see, Final Fantasy Tactics on screen. I usually cover the news, international politics. I cover things like war in Ukraine. I cover decisions that affect other countries. I sometimes talk about politics in Poland, but usually in how they relate to other countries, international politics once again. And I also do history. History is a thing that I really like. A lot of the books here are history books, actually. Books about various periods in history. And also, and gaming, of course, gaming here. But I already mentioned gaming. Also languages sometimes. Sometimes I played a game in Japanese and I would translate the plot in real time. I would listen to the dialogue and I would translate it. I started playing Tales of Fantasia like that, but not many people actually were super duper interested in that. But maybe I will return to language content in some capacity somehow, someday, you know? That would be pretty cool. I saw this earlier today. News reported that you're sending every person into info a private email who requests a gender marker change. Oh yeah, let me see. In Texas. Wow. Well, I've just heard that Trump is making steps to make a return to segregation, so you'll hit me up tomorrow, today for you. Yeah, I will. We'll plan something out. It would be cool to get into. Oh yeah, I'm also planning to get into philosophy a bit. If that's something that would interest anyone that joined right now on Twitch, I'm probably going to set aside some time during streams at specific times to read philosophy and talk about it. It's something that I want to get into at least a little bit. It feels like being philosophically educated is something worthwhile. It's a worthwhile pursuit. Also, the more philosophically literate people will make fun of me, so that's also a thing. Yeah. So okay, let's continue, I guess. Let's continue. As always, I've did a huge stun lock thing, and now we can continue watching Asmongold making a fool of himself by constantly contradicting himself, projecting, and making an appeal to common sense, which gets no respect from me. Ever. I will never respect an appeal to common sense. Again, if you replace any sort of argumentation with "it just makes common sense," I will dismiss it. I love philosophy. One of the biggest nails in the coffin of my Christian faith was my formal logic class in Christian school. Oh my god, I could tell you a story on how I was removed from religious class in primary school when I was a kid, but it was crazy actually. It's a crazy story involving a relative that shot someone and a priest in the religion class that talked about my relative without knowing that they were talking about my relative. And then I raised my hand and said that they're talking about my relative, and things became awkward. There's a lot more to that story, but to appeal to common sense is to appeal to an authority that doesn't even exist. Yeah, that's because common sense, believe it or not, can just be anything you want it to be. You can spout any sort of nonsense and say, yeah, what I'm saying, just it's common sense, right? It's common sense that if I put this on my head like this and clap 3 times, then some magical thing will happen. I've done it 3 times and magical things happen. So it's basically as common sense that if I do it again, magical things will happen around me. Yeah, common sense does mean different things to anyone that uses the term, which is why I don't accept it as any sort of justification for anything. It's also just a logical fallacy. I mean, yeah, it is. It is. And I hate it. I hate it because people use it and abuse it, and it's just accepted. You and me, same page. True. I have to say that again. I really hate the fact that this person apparently right now is the biggest political commentator on Twitch. Isn't that a really sad state of affairs? That Asmongold is actually the biggest political commentator, biggest political streamer, probably not just on Twitch but on YouTube as well. Alright, let's continue. Let's continue with this. I cannot believe I'm having 35 viewers live. I'm breaking records. I feel like I'm breaking records. Also, if you would be as kind as to give me feedback as to what you like and dislike about this stream so far, I'd be super uber grateful. Alright, let's continue.
So we can stop having our asylums run by the inmates.
There you go. If something is decided that I don't like, then it means that it just means that the asylum is run by the inmates. It's just crazy, okay? Law that says that people's gender identity has to be respected. Insane. Mental asylum run amok. I honestly have no idea why anyone puts importance on the political opinions of this swarm of roaches in human suit. I mean, it's because he became popular as a gaming streamer. He's built a whole huge audience, and he's built a reputation as this how should I put it, relatable dude, bro, that just is like any other regular dude, and it's just he wants to chill and play video games, and therefore his opinions are relatable as well, and therefore his politics are relatable as well, and therefore people listen to his opinions. That basically feels like that's the gist of it. Oh god, this dude's that's just such a slob, and he plays video games. It's just so like me, dude, and I feel like what he says about things like Trump and those woke people and those transes just makes so much sense to me, man. It's just so cool that I can have such a relatable figure to watch play World of Warcraft and spout facts, spitting facts. Just common sense, man. People should listen to him more. Maybe Asmongold should be president. Maybe Asmongold should be president, dude, man, bro. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's basically what it is, in my opinion. When he played Final Fantasy XIV, I've seen the streams when he played Final Fantasy XIV. He would sometimes have like 100,000 people watching live. I'm not even sure what his average number of people watching live is when he discusses Trump, but he has a really big audience of people that just listen to this. And let's see what people say in the chat. You're using a YouTube video as a timer, but I'm lazy. Yeah, because they think they're virtue signaling. We can take a look at what the... Hold on. There should be a... No, there's no. That's a segment. Or we can look at the chat on screen and see what is being said. He's not even relatable though. He's a millionaire that lives in a pile of garbage and eats microwave baked potatoes. He thought blue raspberries were a real fruit. He's like the most out of touch dumbass I know about. Yeah, but a lot of people feel like that's relatable. They completely forget about being a millionaire thing. They completely forget about him being, because of his lifestyle. He projects the lifestyle of a person that's not rich. So people basically treat him like a person that's not rich. You know? That's it. People treat him like people forget that he is rich because of how he lives. But he is. And his dumbassery, people just find that's the relatable part. Oh, he's so silly for believing that blue raspberries are real. Or, oh, he's so out of touch. I'm sort of out of touch as well. Because I don't care about politics. I just want to chill and play my video games. And I don't want them to be woke. I don't want women in my video games unless they're sexy. Then it's cool. It's silly. It's silly stuff. It's silly stuff, but unfortunately. And then there's people that try to persuade me that Asmongold is actually pretty pro-trans and not transphobic at all. Which, watching this video, I'm not convinced of that.
These people are insane. They are insane if they think that it is a reasonable perspective to have that children should be dressing out in front of the opposite gender and it should be enforced by the school administration.
Well, okay, first of all, the lady that you were listening to at the beginning of this video said that toilets should be labeled by sex, not by gender. So if there's a trans girl that wants to use the same changing facility as cis girls, then by definition, she's not of the opposite gender, because it seems like the great Asmongold does not know the difference between sex and gender. So it's not crazy, actually. It's only crazy if you believe that it should be unacceptable for people's gender identity to be accepted. Okay? Basically, it only makes sense if you're a transphobe. I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry to be the evil person that calls everybody a bigot, but that is what you are.
This is and the problem of what happens is that
the fact that he just said that about people changing in front of kids of different gender, that just makes me again see that he does not know what he's talking about.
People that have these viewpoints are very, very outspoken and free about having these viewpoints. And the people that aren't are afraid of getting in trouble. And they're afraid of, like, you know, these people...
yeah, same as people that don't want to be around black people, okay? They also don't want to get in trouble. Oh my god, can't even be racist anymore. I'm disgusted by having to change in the same place as a black person or having to use the same bathroom. Like, it's basically the same logic. It's the same principle that leads to segregation, okay? And not so long ago, you could frame people that fought for the abolishment of segregation as crazy people, radicals. Okay, greater rank. Good night.
Like maligning them as a transphobe, trying to systematically destroy their life. I think
yes,
that they're...
it's the transphobes that have their life systematically destroyed. Of course, the systematic oppression of the people that simply commit the sin of completely disregarding other people's identity. Oh my gosh, not good. The think of the children crowd always has the dirtiest minds about things like this. They fantasize about these crimes until they believe they've happened. Yeah, it's insane. It's crazy, as Asmongold would say. Like,
needs to be a much bigger group of people that put out a very observable and very demonstrated expression that these people are the fringe, tiny minority.
well, they're not, actually. People that want to accept People that want to accept trans people are not a fringe minority, actually. Okay? They're quite in the majority, considering that, again, according to polls, which I still have that poll up, I believe, most favor protecting trans people from discrimination. 64% of people are strongly in favor of supporting trans people. Okay? Views of laws and policies related to transgender issues differ wildly by party. It's crazy. It's wild. But yeah, it's just not represented in the data. And people really don't care. Again, I cannot stress this enough. People don't care about trans issues when they go to vote.
They are extreme radicals and they should be treated this way.
To say that trans people deserve rights, that other people's identity should be respected, that's, I guess that's being a radical. That's being an insane person. That is how it is.
That's the problem. You can't speak against it, at least you can for the last 4 years. Well, that's why you have to make sure that never happens again. And so I think it's extremely important for everybody to speak out against this, because the people that are in favor of it are doing it with impunity. And one of the advantages that they have is that they do have, in a lot of cases, I would say, structural advantages, systematic advantages where they can work to destroy a person's credibility or their...
Okay, interesting. It is a very interesting statement that I just heard. Oh, report job. My little carrot. Welcome back. I just heard that trans people have a systemic advantage that allow them to destroy a transphobe person's life. Okay? That is a very interesting statement. I would love to hear the evidence. I would love to hear a justification of this systemic power that trans people wield that allow them to destroy others. First, let's go through this quest first. We left Lionel Castle. We went to search for the missing pet. I got a good feeling. The job from the bar didn't give you enough clues, right? Well, we sure worked hard for it. As a result, we found it. We were cleaning up after the job. They handed us a reward. Alicia opened it and inside was reward money. This job was a big success. This is the way. That's such a weird statement. This is the way. That's all there is to report. We've got a lot of money. Little Miss Carrot. Is there a proposition? No propositions. I want to clear all side quests before I move on with the story. That's my goal. Also, let's hear that again for the people that missed it before because of the commercial on Twitch.
Life by disagreeing with these things. Persons do have, in a lot of cases, I would say, advantages that are in favor for everybody to speak out against.
Everybody needs to speak out against trans rights.
This, because the people that are in favor of it are doing it with impunity. And one of the advantages that they have is that they do have, in a lot of cases, I would say, structural advantages, systematic advantages where they can work to...
Yes, trans advocates have a systemic and systematic advantage to destroy a person's life. That's totally a thing, okay? Especially under Trump. They have those really huge advantages. All right, Asmongold, name me a trans person that has committed a sexual crime in a public bathroom. Bet you can't. They don't care about that. They care about the disgust response. It's like Convenient Estelle said. They care about the disgust. Methinks he's thinking of Jewish people, maybe.
Destroy a person's credibility or their life by disagreeing with these things. They have institutional power.
Oh yeah, trans advocates have institutional power. How delusional do you have to be to actually sincerely believe that people that advocate for trans rights have some sort of systemic power? Yeah, sure. Trans people themselves also hold this awesome system. Wow. Okay. I'm not gonna hear any justification for this, am I? Oh my god. You could transplant this into any other thing. Racism, homophobia, anything, okay? Wow. If you simply speak out against the lack of segregation, if you even just speak out against this lack of segregation, then your life will be destroyed. Okay, it just demonstrates that black people have this systemic advantage. They have this systemic power in society to destroy you if you just offer a different opinion. Yeah, that's the systemic power that black people have over American society. You can't even argue for segregation anymore because your life might be destroyed. It's crazy like that, isn't it?
Power that they can exercise. So the way that you do that is that you show that that institutional power is an extreme minority. And if
What the hell does that mean? That institutional power is an extreme minority. I have no clue what that is supposed to mean. Like, and then I know they're working on that. I have heard about. Yes, I know. Unfortunately, I am aware of what's been happening in politics as of late, and I am quite alarmed, okay, by the revelations that I have been subjected to. I am quite, in fact, alarmed by what's been happening. But yes, the whole like, is he saying that a very small amount of people hold the majority of systemic power? It sounds like a very specific conspiracy to me, but
if you do that, then it goes away.
that makes no sense. If someone's systemic power can be taken away just by a bunch of people speaking out, then those people held no systemic power to begin. I don't think Asmongold understands the nature of systemic power. Okay, if he thinks that's how that works, and that's the nature of how it quote unquote goes away.
I live in a very liberal area. Not being allowed to speak your mind has been a thing for decades, not just recent. Well, the reason why is because people let that happen. And I think that if you want to stop that from happening, you have to
Yeah, that's because perhaps you should not just be able to speak your mind on anything, okay? I've been talking about this recently with a few, let's just say, not very great people, to put it mildly. And you should not be just able to, for example, to speak your mind about doubting if the Holocaust happened. Hot take, I know, okay? The Holocaust, for example, happening or not happening should not be up for debate. Is this unreasonable for me to say? Is that unreasonable for me to say? Yeah, systematic oppression don't exist for Asmongold, but trans people have systemic advantages though.
actively oppose it. And that's why I make videos about this kind of stuff and I talk about it.
How brave.
And I'm very matter of fact, plain English about this stuff. I think these people
Yeah,
are
you're
insane.
very
And I think
matter of fact, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway kind of guy. I've noticed that, yes. My granddad fought the Nazis in World War II, yet we're still dealing with this nonsense. Oh, okay.
think that a lot of them groom their kids to be trans because that's what they want them to be. I'm sorry, but people are insane. And I think that a lot of them groom their kids to be trans.
How do you groom a person to be trans? When you say that, it just betrays a very fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to be trans, okay? You have to prove it, demonstrate it. Show me the evidence of children being groomed to be trans beyond you just feeling that's the case.
Because that's what they want them to be. I'm sorry, but if you have a kid and the kid can't talk and they're underage and they don't even understand what sex entirely is, you have no business telling them or deciding whether they're trans or not.
You don't know what sex is, I'm sorry to say. You think sex and gender are the same thing. You don't know. And you can't speak, allegedly.
That's insane. And it's child abuse. Yeah, it's sick. And more people need to come out.
Oh,
and
I have this anecdote that I can talk about, and I'm gonna make totally a universal rule out of it because, of course, that makes perfect sense. I've got this anecdote that I'm gonna mention that I'm not gonna demonstrate even happened. I'm not gonna go into detail, and I'm gonna use it as groundwork for how I wanna base rules about trans healthcare and grooming while we're at it. There goes conflating sex and gender again. Of course, it's par for the course. It's a boy. Anyway, children don't know what sex, I assume he means gender, is. Yeah, exactly.
Say this before it gets worse. And the people who really should be saying this more than anyone are moderate Democrats, because these people will alienate average, reasonable, like middle of the road independent voters.
No, that's nonsense. Again, the polls do not reflect this. Trans issues are not issues that voters treat as the most important one. Not even close. I'm sorry to say this to Asmongold, but research has been actually done on this. Polling has been done on this. It's not a question mark. You cannot just say, oh, it feels to me like trans topic just alienate a regular voter that's on this. No, it doesn't. People don't care about this topic when they vote. When people decide who to vote for, their first thought isn't, oh my god, who's for and who's against the transes. That's not happening. Like, does he think that children don't learn from a very young age from their parents that they are a gender? No, children are just stupid and don't have any autonomy, and children are just property of their parents, which is another psycho belief that a lot of people have, that children are the property of their parents, basically.
And if an independent voter looks at this and they say, who's right? The person who wants to force children to change out in locker rooms in front of their, their parents, or sorry, their in front of the opposite gender, or the person who
again, a trans girl is not a person of the opposite gender of a cis girl. Okay, the conflation between sex and gender is incredible. Okay, children assigned as sex at birth, we forced that stuff on them from the start, and he tried to switch it around. I mean, that is also true, but talking about the complexity of sex is not something that you can get into with Asmongold. Definitely not. And like the whole framing, the lady that he listened to at the beginning said bathrooms should be labeled as biological male and biological female. That was the lady's premise. That was that parent's premise. But now Asmongold says, oh no, girls should not be forced to change in front of kids of the opposite gender. A trans girl is a girl, okay? If you're saying that they're changing in front of a person of the opposite gender, then you fundamentally just don't believe that trans people are the gender that they identify with. It's as simple as that. Children, if anything, are groomed into ignoring feelings about gender that aren't acceptable to conservatism, regardless of what their parents teach them, though often in conjunction. Yeah. TX is one of the trans Haiti ingest states in the Union, and they couldn't get the bathroom bill to pass, and they couldn't get the list of trans people bill to pass either. Yet people think that the trans rights issue is somehow at the forefront of politics. Yes. Hello, Bisky. I'm Bisky and I have a really random question. Okay, I will answer it. I'll answer it, Bisky. But yes, people do think that. People like Asmongold do really somehow, for some reason, want to believe that trans issues are just the main thing that voters focus on when deciding who to vote for. And it's just silly. It's just based on vibes.
Thinks that this one person who is, underage, who doesn't even entirely understand, if they're 13, right? That means, and this is Illinois, if you're 13, you're in 7th or 8th grade, right? Unless you're either, unless you're really smart. And so you're in middle school. These people haven't even completely gone through puberty.
Okay.
They haven't even completely gone through puberty, and you're telling them that they have to do this. This is outrageous.
What do you mean you're telling them they have to do this? They have to do what? Accept other people as they are? Yes, even children have to be accepting. Even children cannot be bigoted, okay? Oh, this white kid is just 13. They haven't even gone through puberty. Are you saying that they have to accept black people in their spaces? Yes. I'm sorry this is not on topic, but I don't really know who else to talk to. I have a weird question. Why do you ask me that? My father is dead. He died of COVID. Also, toxic does not necessarily mean narcissistic, just so we're on the same page. The main TV conservatives focus on our guns, God, and abortions. Yeah. Is anyone else having the experience? I just want to... what is the experience? What
Crash out's a dangerous precedent. It is. It's an extremely dangerous precedent.
What's dangerous
And
precedent?
This is what's
Accepting
going to
people?
happen. A growing number of the gay community have been speaking out against this. Yeah, and I feel bad for you guys. Because a lot of you guys just want to fuck other dudes in the ass and get married and be left alone. I know, I get it. That's fine. And I'm okay with that. You want to fuck other dudes in the ass and be left alone and get married? That's fine.
But hold on,
And
by
it's
your
disappointing.
logic, gay men and gay and lesbian women should not be allowed in the same locker room as straight women because they just might be aroused, and that's sick, shouldn't it? This is nonsensical logic.
That you guys are getting fucked by these people because
Oh yeah, trans people are just fucking the gays because they want rights.
they're trying to use your cause as they're trying to coattail your cause that is, in my opinion, a noble cause. Why marriage? Because I think the state should I don't think that a priest should have to marry gay people. I don't think so. But I think the state should have a marriage system where if you apply for a marriage license, it's granted to you by the
Yeah, I
state.
think a priest should be able to be... A priest should have the freedom to be a homophobe. That's perfect. You're getting fucked by these people because we might react in a way that will harm you. True. That is actually true, yeah. Yeah, because people that hate trans people are totally not homophobic as well to begin with. Totally not. There's totally not bill in the works in the US to undo gay marriage. No. Totally not. Of course not. Totally not. I mean, look, if you've ever been in a locker room with boys, it's clear that straight homoeroticism is a bigger problem than trans people are actual gay people.
Between two people, regardless of their gender. And the reason, so civil union, I would be okay if they were only allowed to have civil unions. But the reason why I'm not is because civil union doesn't contain the same type of, for example, end of life rights are much broader in a marriage than in a civil union. So you would have to make them completely equal. But in the case where a marriage is different and provides more rights, then a marriage is something that every American and every adult American should be entitled to. Because you shouldn't be discriminated on based off of your sex or your gender.
Unless it's about the transes, the disgusting transes and their identity and what bathroom they choose to use. Then discrimination is actually perfectly fine.
Marriage is from God. It stopped being from God when the state decided what marriage was. It's also from the state of Texas or the state of Illinois. There are two different versions of marriage. There's the state idea of marriage and there's the religious idea of marriage. And I already very clearly explained that the religious idea of marriage they are not entitled to because that compels labor from people who do not want to do that. And I think it's a violation of their religion.
That's stupid. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
But if there is a state definition of a state definition of marriage, then every person should be entitled to that regardless of gender or orientation.
That's stupid.
And I can't see a single argument against that.
The simple argument is priests should not be able to be bigots and hide behind their religion to do it. Red states literally legalize child marriage. You work. I mean, who cares about that, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't. I don't see a single. But and here's what's really disappointing, right? I could have said this 10 years ago, and everybody would be spamming based, and nobody would be disagreeing. But now,
wow, people used to be more bigoted in the past. Oh gosh, I'm so late on the being bigoted train. Guess what? Just not so long ago, I could say that segregation is a thing that should be the status quo still, that we should keep segregation, and people would clap, people would agree with me. But now people will say I'm a racist when I say that. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy how people are not bigots anymore? It's insane. What kind of an argument is that? What sort of an argument is, oh, I used to be able to say those bigoted things in the past and I can't anymore. Oh, I long for those days 10 years ago. You could say that about any sort of bigoted thing that used to be the norm in the past and is not anymore. Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Remember when Asmongold made a 19 hours long stream about World of Warcraft? Those days were still horrible. It's just the past was better, but with more words. Yes, trans-justified aggression has been used as defense in murder cases of trans people. it's the same thing as I don't have a problem with gay guys. I just don't want them hitting on me, says Cletus, who looks like he'll fall down the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down.
Because of these extreme radical psychos.
Yeah, extreme radical psychos that want acceptance for trans people. How radical, how crazy. If you want acceptance for trans people, then you must be a crazy radical, I guess. A psycho.
Now we're seeing people celebrating the repealing of what I believe to be core foundational civil rights. And it's really dangerous to see this happen. And I feel bad for a lot of the gay people, bisexual people, and even moderate trans people that want to live their life in privacy. That
There you go. A good trans person is a person that lives their life in privacy. That is not openly trans. That does not seek acceptance in the open. A good moderate trans keeps themselves in the closet. Just live privately, okay? There you go.
these extremists are caricaturing their entire movement as weird groomers. It sucks. It really sucks.
It sucks.
And I want you guys to know that I'm on your side.
No, you're not.
But what I want you to know even more is that these people aren't. These people will destroy your movement. They will caricature you as freaks and pedos, and they will make everybody hate you.
Pass and shut up. Yeah, basically.
And they've been doing a great job at that. That's it. They went too far. This is way too far.
Why? Are you gonna justify it?
J.K. Rowling made a great tweet a while ago why Democrats will not back down on this issue. I don't know what that is. You can say it, there's no argument, but what happens whenever a kid has two dads or two moms? I think it fucks up the kid, to be honest.
Oh no, Asmongold has met his match. What will he say to that? Having two dads? Does Asmongold think that having two dads or 2 months fuck the kid's mind? Let's hear what he'll say. Never mind that Christians are told to not preach on the street corner and pray in their closets. And if you look awkwardly by feminine beauty standards, you'll always be a disgusting freak. True. True. I have to think about that one. Oh, that's a tough one. That's a toughie. That's actually a real, that's a challenge to my worldview. Oh, I have to consider this. Does it mess up the kids if there are two dads or two moms? Oh gosh, that is so abnormal. That is so freakish that I actually have to give it a thought or two.
I don't think that you could apply that reasoning to other things. So I disagree with you.
Oh, okay. I don't think you can apply my broken logic to anything else.
I was thinking about why I disagree. I disagree because what you're then advocating for is for parents to demonstrate that they're fit to be parents. And maybe that is a good idea. But I don't think that should begin and end with gender. So, like, for example, what about a single mom? What about a parent who doesn't make a lot of money? I think if you use that argumentation and you apply it to other situations, I think it falls apart. And so that's the reason why I don't agree with it. I'd have to have a better argument than that.
That is, I mean, I agree that 2 men and 2 women should be able to adopt a child. But the reasoning why you disagree with it is so stupid that I don't even know what to say. Okay, then, by your logic, cis women that look masculine or have too much testosterone, etc., should just prove that they are biological female before being able to go to certain toilets or changing rooms every single time. That's your standard. If we really to apply this sort of bizarre logic that you've just demonstrated. Like, people that don't conform to certain standards of how a gender should look then should be scrutinized if they're actually that gender before being allowed anywhere. This is also goofy when you consider that the Republicans are far and away the party of child abuse on every level. I mean, let's forget about that. Like, this guy has no clue how much testing of competency goes into a gay lesbian couple adopting a child. It's ridiculous. I mean...
Yeah, divorced parents. Yeah, that's another example too. That's different though. The fuck? Everything's always different, but things have degrees of similarity, and I think that's a degree of similarity. Genetics too? Yeah. But anyway, yes.
Oh my god, what a deep argument. Everything's always different, but at the same time, isn't everything kind of the same, if you think about it? Everything's different, but also similar. It's like a little dance if you really think about it.
So I saw this before, and you can read some of the comments about this. Let's read some of the comments.
Let's read.
Deerfield Middle School administrators force teen girls to change in front of a girl locker room. Here they are. Wow. Wow. Who could have guessed that it is another council of Karens? Another council of Karens that are looking for a new way to virtue signal.
There you go. It's just a council of Karens. If you're a woman and you're pro-trans rights, then you must be a Karen that just wants to virtue signal. There you go. That's the most logical explanation. You have to be a Karen if you're pro-trans rights. There's no other explanation, actually. Makes perfect sense to me. Also, of course, like middle school administrators force teen girls to change in front of a boy because trans girls don't exist. It's a boy, clearly. Again, it only makes sense if you don't accept trans people as who they are, no matter what. It only makes sense then. Here in the States, we have an adoption crisis, as many companies that handle adoptions are Christian and won't let gay, lesbian couples adopt children. Well, that's just perfect, isn't it? I know a few people who were in kids in the foster system here in the US, and they'll tell you that the issue is not the left in this regard. Lots of forced religion and homophobia. That shocks me
About
so much.
how they're good people.
I mean, you're not even pretending to be a good person, so I guess that tracks.
This is amazing. It keep happening. The usual suspects. Yes. It just keeps happening.
Yeah, I look at these women and somehow magically, based on their looks, I just assume they have to be this thing called Karen, because that makes me feel good.
It's always middle-aged white women. Yeah, I agree. And let's see here. This is sexual assault, and by the boy and the school administration. What they need to do is they need to find out the people that did this, if it were these people that forced them to do it, and they need to be tried federally for sex crimes.
Sex crimes, by the way. Brilliant. Sorry, I just got a message about work related things. Where's YouTube? But yeah, who are mothers usually, Asmongold? Mothers are females. She's just I cannot with this. I cannot with this nonsense. It's just mind-boggling. Yes, the US government should totally take advice from I had a dead rat corpse and as an alarm clock guy. Yeah, of course. The biggest political streamer, I will remind you. I'll be right back. I'll go to the toilet and I'll pet my dog. I have a puppy, by the way. I have a nice puppy. It's a German Shepherd. He's very young still, 7 months. So I'll go to the toilet real quick and I'll be right back, okay? In the meantime, if you like what you see, consider supporting your favorite streamer, which I assume I am your favorite streamer, okay? I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I have a black cat named Steve 7. My doggy is called in a very American way. Okay, I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. In fact, invite all of your friends and neighbors and family to watch this stream.